Is it live? I'll never tell.
Page 17, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Welcome to the May 17th, 2023 Planning Board Public Hearing. This hearing will come to order. The Lyman Planning Board is holding this public hearing to review the applications of the exhibits that are offered. Please notify the board chair if you're having difficulty seeing or hearing the presentation. This hearing is being recorded and televised on YouTube. All persons speaking will be asked to first state the name and address or affiliation. All questions and comments will be directed to and through the board chair. It is required that you sign the sign-in sheet to document your attendance at this hearing. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. And anybody that has questions, I'd like you to state your name and address before you ask your question.
Go to the microphone.
Oh, the microphone, okay.
If you're capable, please go stand at the microphone, otherwise you won't be heard clearly.
So Kendra, do you want to explain your project to the public?
Could we
Go ahead.
quickly do a roll call, please? Just
You can.
identify.
Kelly Demers, Partridge Way.
Joe Wagner, 26 Day Road.
Don Hernan, 33 Murphy's Way.
Rod T2, 357 Walker Road.
Cecile Dupuy, 53 Chapel Shores Road.
Paul Boucher, 88 Old Pump Road.
Bill Single, 8 Single Lane.
So we have a quorum.
Good evening. This is starting to feel like a regular occurrence. My name is Kendra Ramsell. I'm a civil engineer with Sevago Technics, representing the applicant, Nason Property Management LLC. I think I'll start with an overview of where we are in the permitting process, as well as an overview of the project following
Can you
the
hear
site plan.
Brenda?
I believe you.
could turn the podium maybe, because
Sure.
just give it a little twist. Yeah. There.
It's better. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So we have completed a site walk with the planning board, and the public joined us as well. And then 2 weeks ago, we were approved for the preliminary plan. Since then, we have submitted the final plan, which, as a result of last meeting, we've added 2 conditions of approval that were discussed, as well as 3 plan modifications, some small things. I have an overview of that, and I can get into it once I go into the kind of overview of the subdivision. So as you might remember, we're proposing a 10-lot cluster subdivision off of Brock Road. This parcel is 12-1 on tax map 1. It also has frontage on South Waterboro Road. We are proposing, it's an 1,100 linear foot road that's 20 feet wide. We're proposing a wet pond for treatment and detention. There's just under 40 acres of open space, as well as about 24 acres of land that will be retained by the owner in the northern portion of the parcel. One of the modifications to the plan that we have made since receiving preliminary approval was adding a private way off of South Waterboro Road that will be built to town standards. And it has a fire truck turnaround for emergency access and provides proper frontage for the retained land by Josh, or Nason Property Management LLC. I think that's pretty much it. For landscaping, we are proposing 14 street trees, 7 along each side of Brookview Drive, and there'll be a project sign at the entrance that just says Brookview Estates. We've proposed some plantings there as well. That's pretty much it.
Okay, does the public have any questions?
Somebody. Hey, come on. Somebody has to ask a question.
Should I just stand? I'll stand here.
So you talked about the entranceway into the,
Ma'am, could you please identify yourself?
oh, sorry. I'm Kimberly Rollins, 49 Brock Road. So you talked about the entrance going in, and I know that there's been a variance filed for its proximity to the brook. So I just have concerns about that when you talk about like the runoff and so forth and where that brook leads to. I know that just on our property, which abuts that property, we have flooding in our field that comes from that brook during winter thaw or during like a rainfall that we just had. I know that at the site walk, it was also asked about at the entranceway, there being a culvert. And I wondered if that had been put into the new plans. And then one of the other things about the entranceway is the road speed limit is 45 miles per hour. And it's my understanding that on a 45-mile-per-hour road, that the sight distance for turning out is supposed to be 450 feet to left and right. And I'm not sure with the curve in the road if that 450 feet is allowed, is even available, where that entrance comes out onto the road. So those were just some of my concerns with the entrance point to the development.
Does the board want me to address each question as they're
Yes.
presented? Okay. Sorry, Josh, can you? There we go. This is a better view of the subdivision. So here is the subdivision plan. Kelly, I'm sorry.
No, that's great. I love it.
So you mentioned the brook at the entrance to the road. So we have submitted an NRPA application for review. It's been accepted. We're going to do the formal submission so that it can be formally reviewed. Sorry, that was confusing. And that's about a 2-week turnaround for approval. But what we submitted that for was there's generally a 75-foot setback on a stream. You can submit a permit by rule through the NRPA, which is DEP, to reduce that to 25 feet. So that is what we have done. And part of the reason that we submitted that as well is to stabilize the outfall of that culvert. It's a 5-foot culvert and there's a lot of erosion that's occurring on the outfall side because water is moving so quickly through there, especially in the spring. And it's starting to undercut the bank. We're installing a road that's going to be roughly 6 feet higher than where the current ground is. It'll be level with Rock Road, but as you know, Rock Road drops off pretty quickly. So we wanted to ensure that putting a road there, that the brook and the bank of the stream is stable. So we are proposing that boulders be tucked in. It's going to be very natural looking. Boulders be tucked in to the undercut portion of the bank. And then there'll be a riprap side slope that goes down from the edge of the road down at a 2-to-1 slope. And that was designed per DEP's standards for stabilization. As far as the, I'm sorry, what was your second?
Culvert.
The culvert. We did add a cross culvert, which is shown on our grading plan as well as the road profiles. It was very easy to get a culvert in there because, again, we were filling about 6 feet to get up to grade with Brock Road from existing grade. So any water that's coming off of Brock Road or down Brock Road in that area will go through the cross culvert. Any water on our site will be picked up with the vegetated ditches and then conveyed down to the low point in the road, which goes out to the wet pond for treatment and detention.
And then the sightline.
The sightlines, yes. We have a traffic memo within the application that you received. It was part of the preliminary plan application. And we are meeting site distance on both sides. I have it, but I believe it's 600 feet on one side and 460 on the other, which meets the requirement for a 45-mile-per-hour road. That was all, that was a review that was done by our traffic engineers. They went out to the site. They measured that by setting, just so you have a little bit more information, they set a cone 10 feet back from the travel lane. And then they measure it from, I think it's about 3.5 feet, which is where your eye would be level with if you were seated in a car. And they look left and look right, and then they measure how far you can see. I believe in the traffic memo, it does also mention that line of sight, there can't be any vegetation in there, so they will take out whatever could be blocking your line of sight if you were in that triangle.
Okay, more questions?
Did that answer your question? Ma'am?
They did without having a report.
Could you state your name first, please?
Miranda, there should be access to all of the applications that we filed. There are hard copies and they're online as well.
And maybe someone afterwards can show me where those are, because I've spent an hour and a half looking for what you told me was there and have not been able to locate it.
The latest one that you just sent me today is not online
Yeah.
yet because Lindsay had already gone for the day and she's the one who put them on the website.
The traffic memo is within the preliminary plan application, which should be there.
Should
That was
be
around
on.
3 weeks ago, submitted about 3 weeks ago.
It's all right. Hi, Ken Matheson, South Waterboro Road. I'm in a butter. My question is, you said there's going to be a private drive off South Waterboro Road to access some property out there in the northern side.
Yeah.
What's going to be the purpose of that property? What's going to be used for?
So that property is just land retained by Josh's company. And there is nothing proposed on that land right now.
Thank you.
I will note that legally it has to be used for residential. We had a long discussion about this in the last 2 weeks, so.
Mhm.
And I'll add to that, as part of our discussion last week, we did make it a condition of approval on the final plan that, if anything were to be done, if there was any other future division of that land, it would have to go through subdivision approval through the town. That's also state law.
Roger Owens, 49 Brock Road. Does anyone from the town check this sightline issue? Does the road commissioner check it at all, or are you just going by the word that
I
they're
believe the road commissioner will check it.
just, as far as the sight lines, the 600 feet up the hill, I totally agree with that. As far as 400 and some feet the other way, there's no way. I don't know, I guess some of you, I couldn't make the site walk. I guess some of you were there. And I mean, even since then, the vegetation is filled in, and I'd be surprised if you've got 200 feet to that corner where you're gonna be able to see anyone coming through. And, you know, if there's a bus, say a bus parked there on that corner and people traveling at 45, I just don't see it. I think it needs to be moved up as far as it can to get away from that corner, in my opinion. But like I said, I would hope the road commissioner would check it out and whoever else, just to verify.
Nicole just brought up a really good point. I don't know if you're thinking of the entrance as being where the current clearing is off of Brock Road. It is moving down.
From your flag to
Toward the
where your post was in the side of the road.
Okay, just making sure that that was clarified. And then in the report, we do have photos looking left and looking right. And I can just hand this to you if you'd like to see it, but it will be reviewed by the road commissioner. And I also mentioned that the placement of the road where it comes off of or meets Rock Road was specifically chosen in order to reduce the amount of earthwork for the road in general. I talked a lot about the topography on site. And as most of you know from the site walk, it's on a very large hill. So we tried to choose a natural contour, I think it's elevation 300, naturally that wraps around the side of the hill, kind of along, so that the road creates a ridge, just for less disturbance to the site in general, less removal of trees, less earthwork, things of that nature. So that was why the location of the road is set to where it is.
More questions?
Kim Rollins, 49 Brock Road. Just clarification, I know that the fire chief had asked about the hammerhead turnaround.
Yeah.
And I just wondered if that had been double checked to make sure that it met town specifications, because when he questioned it, I felt like he was the expert. And then my other question is, in reading through the cluster housing ordinances in Lyman, they talk about a fire storage units within a cluster housing. And I have no idea what that means, and I wondered if somebody could explain it to me and just tell me what that.
It used to be tanks they put in,
Mhm.
so the fire trucks can hook up to them now. But now our ordinance says all these houses have to be sprinkled.
Okay, so has that been updated in the ordinances? Because it's
Yes.
not online.
It is updated in the ordinance.
Okay, that may want to be checked online because I have a fresh print off a line which talks about fire storage.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. What was it?
In the subdivision ordinance or the zoning?
If you'll give me just a minute,
no,
it's
take
on
your time.
page 37.
Okay.
It is still there, but we had a conversation with the fire department. The houses will all be sprinklered using the each person's individual well. And also the ponding that you see on the opposite side of Brock Road is a fire pond. So with it being in such close proximity to the cluster subdivision, he thought that the development would be adequately protected for fire.
It must be the original.
Usually cisterns are about 30,000 gallons. They're massive and very, very expensive. So,
Usually they bury them, just leave the spigot sticking out for the fire trucks.
that's correct, yeah.
I only asked because it was in our ordinances. Mhm. Nothing I know.
That was a good catch.
It's good to see people reading documents.
Change.
So on these pictures you just gave me, so this one here showing the sight line to the left.
Yep.
So when you're standing right there where you're proposing the road to come out, I mean, you should be able to clearly see the brook right there. I mean, this doesn't even look to me like it's where your road is gonna be. There's a house kind of diagonally over across the way. You can't see either one of their driveways in this picture. And the road curves right there, like I said, within 100 to 200 feet of where that proposed road is. And this picture here isn't, I don't know, I guess I'm not seeing it be an accurate photo if that's what you're showing is evident to the 460 feet. Like I said, if the town, I just assume the town's gonna go out and double check it, I would hope.
Generally, I didn't conduct the study, so I can only speak to this in kind of from an outside perspective. But generally, we use a GPS to locate the center line of the roadway, step 10 feet back, and that's how the picture is taken. I don't know if it's just cropped to fit into this nice presentation, but I might be able to provide a larger photo or more photos. I know there were several taken. They just included the two, one looking left and one looking right in the report.
I have a
Maybe
question.
we just rely on the road commissioner to.
You're saying you're having a 20-foot wide road,
Mhm.
but it clearly states that it has to be 24 feet.
It's
20
a-
feet of road with 4 foot of shoulder,
Yeah, we do have we have a 2-foot shoulder on each side,
okay?
2-foot gravel shoulder on each
So
side.
you're having a 24-foot road.
Well, it's a 20-foot wide paved road with 2-foot wide gravel shoulders and a 50-foot right of
It
way.
says roads will have a minimum pavement width of 24 feet.
Which are you?
I'm in the subdivision ordinance,
Where are you?
So it's
23.
this is a little bit confusing because what we designed the road off of was the town of Lyman roadway standards.
Mhm.
For a subdivision, it's a private way, so it only required a 20-foot wide road with 2-foot gravel shoulders on each side.
I may be confused, but it specifically states 24 feet paved in the subdivision standards.
That would be in direct conflict with what the roadway standards state.
What's it saying?
I think it depends on, well, I know that it depends on the determination of the road, if it's going to be a public road or a private road. Also, if it's going to be a minor street or, I'm sorry, I forget the term.
Well, even looking at the minor street, it says 20-foot paved road, 4-foot paved sidewalk. That's what I'm reading right here out of this.
There's also in the subdivision standards, it states that
Oh, you-
that the planning board has the option to
Oh.
add a sidewalk if they feel it is necessary. There are no sidewalks along Brock Road. It's a rural area, which is why we didn't propose one. But in the 3 meetings we've had together, it hasn't come up. So that's why a sidewalk is not proposed.
Any more questions?
Now, I'm gonna go back to the sight line, which was one of my big concerns at the site walk. Looking at these 2 photographs, I'm speculating that these photos were taken at where we ended the sidewalk versus down by the brook. Because looking down by the brook, you clearly turn left, and you see the dip in the road, the brook, and turning up the hill to your left. I'm not seeing this in the sightline looking left photograph. That's what really caught my attention at the sidewalk was. So I'd like to see that confirmed before we get there.
Okay.
More questions or comments? Anything from the board? All right, last call for questions and comments. If there's no more questions or comments, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome to the 5/17 meeting of the Lyman Planning Board. This meeting will come to order. This is a public proceeding. Unless the board specifically votes to an executive session, you have the right to hear everything that is being said and look at all exhibits that are offered. If the board votes to an executive session, the reason for same shall be stated. Please notify the board chair if you are having difficulty seeing or hearing. This meeting is being recorded for YouTube. In each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with provisions of the applicable ordinance or ordinances. After the board votes on the merits of each project, it will prepare a written opinion, which will be forwarded within 7 days. The board works from a prepared agenda and will be considering tonight's items in the following order. Brookview Estates, Brock Road Cluster Subdivision, Tax Map 1, Lot 12-1, 10 residential lots. MX 207 review site walk set for Wednesday, May 10th, 2023 at 5:30. 3, the Hidden Spa. 4, Daniel Marquardt, 49 Shore Road, map 16, lot 45, demo and rebuild, best practical location. Site walk already done on 12/3/22. Discussion, please note there will be a workshop on Wednesday, May 24th at 5:30 with Lee J. Feldman from SMPDC to learn more about the LD 2003. Minutes, old business, and mail.
Mr. Chairman, I have the floor just for a
Sure.
moment. Last Thursday, we had candidates night here. And one of the questions that was posed to the candidates for select board made the implication that the planning board oversteps its bounds. Now, if that is ever the case, I would like the public, whoever it may be, to bring that to our attention. I've been on the board for some time, and if anything, I think we've been quite deferential to the select board. I don't think we go off the reservation. But nonetheless, if there's any sentiments along those lines about specific incidents, please bring it to our attention so we can address it. Thank you, sir.
Can I make a comment, please?
Go ahead, Don.
Also, I hope that wasn't about me. But anyway, in the planning board bylaws, which are online under planning board, it gives there's a description about bias and conflict of interest, referring to planning board members. So if someone who's coming before the planning board feels that a member is, has some personal bias or has a conflict of interest in being able to fairly adjudicate or comment on a project, it just says you got to submit your comments in writing, but it does give a process in there. So there is a process for anyone who feels like they're not getting a fair shake, or if there's one of the planning board members, can't evaluate their project fairly. It tells you what you should do, which basically says, put your comments in writing. And then it gives the planning board member a period of time to respond to that. So we do have alternate members of the planning board. So if somebody had to recuse themselves for a valid reason, then another member could take their place. So I just want to point that out to you in case someone does feel like, I hope nobody does, but you never know. And perception is reality to the individual in most cases. So if there is a perception of that, then the only thing I would say is you got to put it in writing, because we haven't dealt with verbal comments, and we haven't had, I can't remember of any, but maybe there are some. Maybe there's a hotbed of resentment down there somewhere. But if it bubbles to the surface, please write down what your comments are and present them to the planning board. And if a planning board member has an issue with is financially involved or otherwise with a project, and the planning board member should say, hey, I cannot vote on this, I'm out. That's why that's one of the reasons we have alternates. So thank you for my comment. I made similar comments to the select board Monday night, which if you don't have anything else to do, you can watch it on YouTube. So hopefully you have something else to do. 2 cents.
All right, where do we want to start, Don?
I don't know. No, so, on the list,
Yep.
where are we in this thing anyway?
On this list. All right, so we're gonna get the road commissioner out there to check the sight lines on this. And hopefully he'll send us a letter or something saying that what the sight lines are. I'm still kind of stuck on the road thing because, like you said, it clearly states 24 feet of paved road. And as far as the sidewalk, you can have 2 feet on each side, which is fine. But the sidewalk's still part of the road. You got a 20-foot road and then 2 feet. On each side, it's 24 feet. I mean, it specifically says that.
Are we discussing do you want to go into the final application that we've submitted?
Well, you're saying you're gonna have a 20-foot road, and the ordinance clearly states it's 24 feet paved.
I think that, I'll go back to the conflict between the subdivision ordinance and Brenda, I'm looking at Brenda.
It's the,
Yeah, the roadway design standards, and yes, the street acceptance standards, which I'm not sure if you have in front of you. But there are extensive rules and design standards within that entire manual. It's what determines why we have to provide a road profile and details, what the surface of the road has to be, et cetera, et cetera. And what we also discussed last week was when we talked about how the roadways need to be built to those standards, which is now a condition of approval on the plan. That is what we designed our road to.
Rod, are you looking at the road?
I got an extra page, but this one here clearly states it's 20-foot paved, 4-foot paved sidewalk too, but.
Yeah, it sounds like we got it. Yeah. Oh, but, okay, you're looking at minor or?
Most minor. Yeah.
Mhm.
It says 20 paved. Right here?
Yep.
And also I'm a little bit confused. You're talking about sidewalks and then gravel shoulders, which to me are two different things. We are providing a 2-foot shoulder on each side, which is a space that somebody could walk on, of course. But I just want to be clear, there aren't sidewalks proposed, and it states in the subdivision ordinance that the board can require them, but they are not required.
Well, are you saying there's a conflict between the Town of Lyman Street Acceptance Design and Construction Standards Ordinance and the subdivision
Yes, about the road width,
about the road?
the
Well,
paved width.
I'm not saying there isn't a conflict there, but normally if there's a conflict, you go with the most restrictive requirements. I mean, I'm not, obviously they ought to match exactly, but if there's a conflict where one says this and the other says, no, you got to have a wider road, then you would typically go with the more restrictive ordinance.
So without seeing the ordinance itself, also, is that within a regular subdivision standard, or because we're in cluster subdivision?
I don't think clusters would have.
Jeff, do you know if that, do you
It's
remember
under-
seeing anything that would change
I mean,
that?
I don't know if you can resolve it right this second, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying it's under design standards and it talks about new subdivision connecting directly to existing private street or ways must upgrade to the existing blah, 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 blah. And it goes on and then gives a table here. And I think is what Rod's looking at. Is a table. And we just need to resolve what is the correct width. Because, if you're going to do it and it requires 20 feet paved, then you should be 20 feet paved. If it's with a paved sidewalk, okay.
Sorry, Bob, we're in the
But
subdivision.
she is right, though. It does state 20 feet paved and
Right.
4, but it says we can require sidewalks. She is right.
Okay.
There is a discrepancy, but
Between the two, yeah.
I'm sorry, whereabouts in the subdivision regs does it specify 24? What page is that?
It doesn't
Uh-oh.
actually, I think Robin had,
I got an extra page
he has
here
an
or
extra
something.
page. I think he has a page of probably the previous version.
I don't know why I got 2 pages on that, but
It's like on-
Yeah,
my
eight-
bad.
I was gonna say, I don't think I recall
Pages.
seeing that, but
I'm not seeing.
Yeah, it does.
I am
say to,
human.
According, the standards according to the Town of Lyman Street Acceptance Design and Construction.
that's where the confusion's sitting there.
Mm, Okay.
This is minor. So 20 feet is what we go with.
It's 20 feet.
Yeah.
We can make sidewalks. We don't have to. It doesn't.
I don't think so.
I'm good. I'm good.
okay.
Okay,
It's not
Um,
like 30 units with kids and sidewalks and curving,
No.
pole lighting, and
20.
I'm okay with 20.
I haven't seen the agenda, but we did submit the final plan with the revisions that we talked about. So I think, and I don't know which order you want to go in as far as other projects tonight. But I think that plan would have to be accepted for review. I believe that it would need to be accepted for review tonight. And then we could discuss those modifications that were made as well as the conditions of approval that were added, if you'd like.
So what do you think?
Go through the checklist.
Yeah, good checklist.
One of my concerns still goes back, and I'm sorry to harp on it, is the wetlands crossing and crossing of the wetlands and stream. There is an existing old bridge there. We all know they're going to go down by the retention pond, ATVs, dirt bikes, snow machines across there. I would like to see something in the CCs and Rs with the access being at the end down by the hammerhead so that they minimize the impact on the wetlands. I saw that retention pond here and I'm like, they're gonna just shoot down here and hit the trails.
Is the trail that still cuts from across the conservation land, is that still a usable trail?
It is?
Is it?
I don't know.
Because it once you go off the island on the conservation,
Yeah.
land, you get to the back corner, they have 2 of the logging skids.
Yeah.
Crossing that, like that whole area out there, which drops right back on them, like 10 feet back.
Yeah. But you were there when I saw it, I'm like, okay, someone's gonna try to get this with side by side, and they're gonna crash through, or they're gonna go tearing up the wetlands, and I would like to see that addressed. Maybe you can make conditions in the CCs and Rs, that access should only be at this point, and the homeowner of the HOA needs to provide some form of acceptable access to the remaining common land.
I mean, I think that's reasonable. Right at the end of the hammerhead, if you're standing at the end of the hammerhead, looking at the abutting property, looking left, you have open space. Looking right, you have much more open space,
Yeah, there's that finger that goes down the side of the property.
which it was by
It looks like
design.
The wetland is lesser there than it is further up the stream.
Yeah. So what I would say, I mean, we can,
Address it in some fashion.
yes, I just struggle with that a little bit because it will ultimately be up to the HOA to police. But I don't see a problem in adding verbiage that it should be accessed from the end of the hammerhead. I don't see that being an issue. We could also add a sign to the end of the hammerhead that says open space, left, right.
Yeah.
Just so it's clear that that's the point of access.
Yeah, it's-
So is that, are you saying at the end of the subdivision road, there's a hammerhead, correct?
Yep.
You're saying the access to the open space then would be on in the area actually it's the buffer between that particular lot and the lot line. So is
That's
that what you're
correct.
talking about?
Yep, it's 75 feet of land
Mhm.
between the exterior lot boundary and lots 5 and 6, and it wraps around a little bit and touches lots 3 and 4.
Mhm.
That was, I don't know if you remember when we came in for sketch plan, which feels like ages ago.
Right.
We had added that, originally we were proposing the open space completely on the other side of the stream.
Right.
But in order to make the maximum lot sizes work, we had to add in open space to kind of take up some area because the lots we were proposing were too large at the time.
Hey, Roger Rollins was asking to be heard.
Mr. Rollins?
Hi, I'm Roger Rollins, Senior, 25 Brock Road. I haven't heard anybody mention the school kids. Are school buses gonna be able to drive out in there, pick up the kids, or are they gonna have to walk out to Brock Road? And if so, there isn't gonna be any sidewalk or anything for them to walk on? I haven't heard a mention of school kids. 10 houses, you figure what, at least 2 kids maybe per house? What happens to all those kids?
There are 2-foot wide gravel shoulders on each side of the paved road.
So
But
If they walk out, they'll have to walk on the gravel shoulder.
yes, they'd be off of the pavement. There's also a grassed, it doesn't immediately drop down into a vegetated swale, so there is grassed area as well. But I can't answer the school bus question. I don't know if school buses go down private roads. I'm assuming not. Yeah.
No.
So it's too much to ask for a sidewalk for these kids to walk on. You know how fast the vehicles travel on South Waterboro Road?
Yeah.
If you don't, you should go up there and sit there for a while. The cops say they don't even dare stop somebody there because it's no good place to pull them over. It's so dangerous.
What we're talking about would be
Thank you.
what we're talking about would be internal to the subdivision if a sidewalk was requested. So they'd be walking down Brookview Drive to the intersection of Brock Road and Brookview Drive. So they wouldn't be on South Waterboro Road, just clarifying.
Well, we had the public hearing, but I'll let you ask.
Just a comment
Sure.
on that. I mean, there's the whole trailer park that the buses don't go down. People fly down Cleveland Pond Road the same way, as well as Ruth Lane, Tibbetts Lane, where people are going down Hill Road and there's no sidewalks any of those as well.
And it being a private road, a minor road, that's a dead end, I don't see people having enough length of road to insanely speed up before they're about to stop at the intersection of Brookview Drive and Rock Road. That's an opinion. I know people speed.
Yeah, actually, in my subdivision, I live on Murphy's Way, there's no sidewalk. Originally, when the road was built in 2005, there was a painted line on one side, which was supposed to be the sidewalk, quote unquote. Well, of course, now the paint's gone, but a lot of the kids have grown up. Some of them, in fact, they're all grown up now. And obviously, I don't need the sidewalk. Anyway, but it's a valid question. I don't know. I
How
don't.
many kids have ever hit that road?
No, it's just it's a one block street. Maybe it's not as long as this one is. So it's one block street.
So maybe some signs as one approaches Brookview from both sides of Rock, just notifying the motorists that the school bus stop is coming up.
Yeah,
And,
Or
Right.
just be cautious of pedestrians
right.
in general.
Yeah, you come from South Waterboro Road down Brock Road, and all of a sudden, you see a school bus stop. If they're not paying attention, that could be potentially dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, meets all the criteria, the minimum site distances. I don't think we can stop it.
Okay, and you have turned in your final plan?
They're in the box over here.
Okay.
Oh,
I didn't know if you were ready for them yet, so they're here, but if you want them, we can hand them out. It's up
Do we
to
have any more questions and comments about public hearing or someone's want to know?
I have a question about the, that lot that is not, that is separate and that is, has frontage on South Waterboro Road. I know that at the last meeting, we had representation from Southern Maine, right, from, and seemed to agree on that it was okay to include that lot in the subdivision. But in reading our ordinance, it sounds like it doesn't comply with our ordinance. Because it does say that in a cluster, that all have to exit through one path. I mean, they can't have more than one exit on a main road. So that makes two exits on two main roads. And the maximum lot size for a cluster is 55,000 square feet, and that's a lot bigger than that. And yeah, no lot can have direct vehicular access onto a public road.
So we discussed several of those, all of those points last meeting. And what Hannah landed on was that if that law is legally shown on the plan as land retained by Nason Property Management LLC, it is not considered a lot within the subdivision, with the stipulation that a private road be added to meet the required frontage, and that it meets all of the other dimensional standards for a regular lot in the town of Lyman, which is a minimum lot size of 5 acres with at least 375 feet of road frontage. We now have close to 480, I believe, with the private road that we're showing. So there was a lot of, you all remember, a lot of discussion on that.
Yeah.
And then we did approve the preliminary plan, with that being the end result. So that's how we've moved forward with the final plan. And we do have, I do have an email from Hannah stating that kind of summarizing after that meeting that everything was legal from the state perspective.
Except one of the things that I found in our subdivision ordinance and was that the parent lot of the split out lot was to be owner occupied single family residence. And you kept referring, well, you're following Maine state statute. I brought up that statute and it said that prior to the subdivision, it had to be an owner occupied residence for 3 years. So we still have that very specific wording that the lot has to be a single family residence, owner occupied single family residence.
So it says, so we talked about this as well. It says that the use has to be single family residential, a single family residential dwelling, and it does not say dwelling unit. So there does not need to be a house on it in order for it to be considered single family residential.
Except that that's in a general purpose zone, so that could be commercial application. And allow use in that zone. The intent, I believe the intent of that verbiage was to maintain the characteristics of the neighborhood, hence single-family use. Owner occupied single, what page are you on?
2.3.
2.3.
2.3.
Subdivision?
Yeah.
In determining whether a subdivision has occurred, land retained by the subdivider/applicant for his own use as a single-family dwelling for a period of at least 5 years shall not be included in the computation of total lots created.
And this is where we came up with the condition that if the land were to be further subdivided, that it would have to go through the subdivision approval with the town of Lyman because of that reason.
It doesn't specify that it has to be a domicile there or one built, just has to, the use has to be retained.
Yes.
So I think we're okay on that.
For his own use as a single family.
Well, again, it's the LLC's property.
But we're talking single-family dwelling.
Well, I think the intent of this was if, say, we had 15 acres and we wanted to subdivide on our own property, we had a house on it, that we still kind of buy into the residential environment by keeping our home there. In this case, there is no home there in the first place, but the.
So how is it a single-family dwelling if there's no residence there?
That's what's required to be there.
Right.
So if they do anything, they got to build a single-family residence.
Yes.
And that's for a period of 5 years. I think that's very reasonable.
Yeah, maybe before they can go forward?
No.
No, if 2 years down the road, they decide to build a single-family home,
Yeah.
they've got to meet those requirements.
Okay.
But that's for a period of 5 years. After that, those restrictions don't apply.
That's correct.
I guess that's how you read the ordinance, right?
But can we, assuming this goes forward, then it would seem like it would, if we could figure out the right words, there ought to be something in the notice of decision that specifies that.
Sure.
Just because otherwise it's going to be confusing. And what you don't want to do is to write a notice of decision that is not clear. Because then 5 years from now or sometime in the future, somebody comes back and wants to do something. You go back and the wording is not clear, and you got to go through a big discussion, get legal counsel involved, et cetera, et cetera. So let's try to make sure if we can put it down clearly in the first place, and that way, hopefully, it's clear to everybody, and there's no problems in the future. Should the applicant decide to come back and want to do something, you're talking about that retained land, right? Which is what, 20?
Yeah.
How many acres is that? I'm sorry.
23 and a half.
Yeah, so it's a pretty big plot of land. So much greater than the minimum lot size required up there.
Right.
So I would just suggest that we got to come up with some wording that specifies what we're talking about here.
And I would offer, and this goes back to the discussion that we had, that it looks an awful lot like your ordinance was trying to mimic the state standard. And it specifically states in the last paragraph of section 2.3 that it must meet the state standard. So I would offer that that 5-year rule and the use of the land is stated in the state statute that's referenced. So I would like to see the condition of approval include language that it meets the state standards.
So if
As well
the
as-
state standard is more restrictive, stating that prior to the subdivision, the owner has to be owner occupied for 5 years. Yes,
that's what we're saying. It does have to be owned by Josh for 5. He can't sell it for 5 years.
Owner occupied.
He owns the land.
He owns the land.
He
Come on,
owns a site. He
jeez,
owns a lot.
be reasonable.
I
Well-
do this for a living.
For his
Yeah.
own use. It has to be.
I
it
think
says
Well, if he
for
owns it, it's his
own
use,
it's
right?
his own use, but, well,
See, I
selling
thought we
it is
had
not
this all
his
cleared
use.
up at the last
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah.
I mean,
That was when she was going, wait a minute, this sounds logical from MSRP, whatever. Because I'm not voting on this, I'm just expressing my opinion.
Right.
Reading the statutes, referencing the state statutes that's referenced, and stating that this verbatim, the language states owner occupied, not vacant lot, owner occupied, not improved site, owner occupied.
Well, could we get a copy of the email that Hannah Bonine sent to you in terms of her
Sure.
interpretation of this?
Yep.
And as to Don's point.
Brenda was also copied on all of those emails, so she has them.
So.
I think, I don't want to say that. I thought we might have included them in the final application, but I could be wrong about that.
and about
I will happily provide them.
As a condition. in the
I think
notice of
Hannah will-
decision-
Sorry.
I'm sorry, and as a condition of the notice of decision, explicit mention of, I think it's referred to as lot 11. That it will be retained, the ownership will be retained by Mason LLC. And if anything is to be done to the property, it has to be a single family residence that,
The use has to be single-family residential.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, unless
Or-
the applicant wanted to come back and try to create more lots there as part of a subdivision, which I guess it would be, he's got 20-some acres there.
will there be a 5-year hiatus on that?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's already stated as a condition of approval.
Okay.
So I think that, again, if you agree that that your ordinance is trying to mimic the state standard, which that's how I feel. And again, it references the state standard right in it. But it's missing key pieces of information that are within the state standard that matter. So I would hope that if we covered it as a condition of approval, that lot meet that state standard, which can be specifically be spelled out, the whole statute referenced properly, that we're meeting your intention for the
language that we-
land.
The language that we do have here in 2.3 is drawn directly from the state law.
Right, it's not different from state.
Yeah, but then it also says refer to Title 38, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
for
that's-
additional information. So
That's,
adds that
I
extra
looked it up and
little,
compared it to what we have here, and it's verbatim.
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I thought too.
All right.
So
Where are we here?
just so I'm clear on that, and I can coordinate with Hannah maybe so that the correct, I know she's not here, so it makes it difficult, but so that the correct language is used, but that I think just saying the subdivision in general, as well as the land retained by owner, meet title 38, yada, 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 should cover every concern raised. I just want to make sure we put it on the plan so that it's correct. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Brenda?
I wonder if at this point it would be a good idea to accept the plan that's being submitted as a final plan for review so that you'll have it for the next meeting to discuss.
I'm good with that.
I think that will take a vote.
Mhm.
So moved.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
All in favor of accepting the final plan for review?
Aye.
All opposed? Go ahead,
Can
Brenda.
we just note that we also received that electronically, so we'll try within the next couple of days to get that final plan online for everyone to review. I'm not sure where they put that, I think it's hard to find.
Well-
Maybe, I think there's a planning board tab, have you looked at that?
All other ones have the site name right next to it and it says SP in the number. This one isn't.
We'll make sure it's up there.
Actually, like 4 of them.
If not, email me and I'll send it.
So,
Do you want your copies now, or do you want to pick?
well, I would actually like to put them on for the next agenda so I could go over it and look it over good.
No, but I mean,
Yeah,
do you
you,
want them
we can
handed
pick
out
them
now
up at
or
the end
pick
of
them up
the
on-
meeting.
Don't hand
At
them
the
out.
end of- you want the
Please,
papers?
please don't hand them out now. I beg you. We got enough stuff here. We got enough-
So don't they have to be accepted for review tonight in order to,
Can we just do that?
no. No,
Yeah.
we didn't go through the checklist to accept it as complete,
Or did you
I
want
s-
to do
which we
We're
did with the
accepting it for
preliminary
review
plan.
Is what we're
Um,
doing.
I think we did accept the preliminary, that it was
Yes.
complete. You had everything that you needed.
The preliminary
forward.
was, yeah, and the preliminary was approved
Right.
as, it was completely approved. We moved on now to a separate, the final application.
Right.
Final
So because it's a different application, I think each, it has to be accepted as complete in order for you to review it. We did the same thing with the preliminary plan when we went through the checklist. The checklist is much shorter this time,
It is.
I will note.
I think you might
I think
want
it's
to do three.
a different scenario.
Yeah,
Okay,
I want to review it, as she says.
sure, okay,
Schedule you for the next meeting.
okay.
That
Can
way
I,
we can go through it and look at it and
can I just ask a couple of other questions in our cover letter? These are just questions I have that would affect the notes on the final plan, so, the two, I'm sorry, lost my train of thought. The two conditions of approval that resulted from last meeting were, everything we just talked about, and that all constructed roadways must comply with the town of Lyman Street acceptance standards. So we've added those two conditions to the plan. The three changes that we talked about last time, we're adding a private way off of South Waterboro Road, providing the correct frontage, and that it shall meet the town standards. And then showing the calculated site distance at the entrance to Brookview Drive. We've also added that to the plan. We've had further discussion on that, which I will address for next time. And then showing Brookview Drive as paved, not gravel, on all plans and roadway details. We've also made that change. I
Good.
just wanted to note some of those things. And then two things we're asking for. We respectfully request that receipt of permit approvals from other agencies be considered a final condition of approval, a final plan condition of approval, which would prevent the start of construction until all other permits are obtained, and the copy of which would have to be provided to the town. So we can't start construction until all permits are in hand. I didn't want that to hold up your review. And then, so that's item one, that would be a third condition of approval on the plan. And then the fourth was that the board make the final review of the homeowners association documents, which we assume would need to be coordinated with the town's attorney, a condition of approval. So that doesn't hold things up as well.
Is that, now this, you gave us a copy that, or someone gave us a copy, Declaration of Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions for Brookview Estates.
Yep, that's it.
Is that the homeowners?
Yes.
Oh, isn't this
pretty
nice?
dark, pretty dry reading, Dawn.
Holy
Hey,
mackerel.
this is small. This is only 20.
Brenda?
Mr. Chairman, I was going to suggest this at the next meeting, but it might be a better idea to bring it up now. I would like to throw it out there that one of the conditions also be that no additional dwelling units can be approved in the subdivision. And I don't know if that's contrary to 2003, but in a cluster division, you've got 10 houses in there now.
Mhm.
If everyone put in an ADU, you'd be doubling the subdivision.
Yeah, we'd have 20 houses.
Exactly, so I'd like to see that at least considered. And maybe Joe can spend the time researching if that's okay to do. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, that's a simple CC&R addition, that there's gonna be no subsidiary or auxiliary units.
I believe it's in there.
What's that?
I believe it's in there.
Usually it is.
Yeah.
Is it in there?
Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
I didn't
What's
know.
in the
I'm fairly certain.
CCNR?
Yeah,
Or the
might be, it might actually say, I'm sorry, I
guess that's
reviewed
what
these quickly, but
CCNR means?
it might actually say, I'm sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, the primary unit.
Well, primary stipulates if there's secondary.
Sorry, I don't know exactly what it says, but I think
Yeah.
a full home, only one is allowed on
Minimum
each
single
lot.
residential dwelling per lot.
Right, but it wouldn't limit ADUs
That's-
potentially.
which I
So
think is important, so
if that's the concern, then that,
we're gonna
yeah.
go ahead with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it makes sense.
Mr. Chair, could we refer a copy of this to the town attorney and get
Yes, we
an opinion
should.
on that? We need a motion for that?
Why not?
So move that a copy of the HOA covenant be sent to the town attorney for review.
I'll second. She seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
And Brenda, will you handle that? Okay.
Is,
Any other questions?
I just had one question on this rather lengthy covenant. I mean, that's, okay, so this is provided to the planning board as a document by the applicant, right? I mean, what's to stop this from being changed later?
They would all have to vote on it, it'd have to go up, it takes the lawyer, it takes a lot to change bylaws, rules, regulations after.
This gets recorded in
Mhm.
registry of
Yeah,
deeds.
this gets right in the registry of deeds. Every potential homeowner gets a copy. They have to sign
So
up.
what I'm asking is, okay, so this goes through and everything, and the houses are all built, now HOA gets together and looks at this thing and says, we don't like it, we want to change it. They don't have, do they have to come back to the planning board? There's nothing.
No, but I believe if I've read it right, 75% of the existing homeowners need to vote in order to then the proposed changes need to go through. Typically, the lawyers are involved.
Well, my point is that if there's anything that the planning board wants in here as whatever, for some reason, we want something in the HOA
We
agreement.
want.
We don't want that,
applications
we'd rather have that in the notice of decision
Right.
as a specific requirement. Because you could change this, I mean, I'm not saying you would, but let's say the homeowners get together and throw this thing out the window and come up with a 2-page one instead of 10 pages or 20 pages. It's possible. So anything we want, we, the planning board, thinks is a condition of approval should be in the conditions of approval.
Yeah.
My comment, that's all.
I don't know if it's in it. I haven't had a chance to review it. Is there restrictions of no more than 2 vehicles in the yard and all must be maintained and registered and inspected?
I don't know the answer
I haven't read them.
to that.
I've seen them.
That's up to them.
350 pages long.
Okay.
So this one here.
I think it's pretty
Simplistic.
simple. Yep, in the land of HOA documents.
Yes.
I just went through, my portion of the review is to make sure that all easements are noted, all maintenance of stormwater utilities, ditches. We don't have any catch basins, but culverts, all of that is going to be maintained by the HOA. That is our piece as civil engineers and the piece that DEP cares about.
I'm seeing assessments. Would that be a voluntary assessment or mandatory dues? Or do maybe you want to put dues and assessments?
This is not my area of expertise.
Yeah.
A lot of times when it comes to assessments, it's if there's especially if they lost a culvert,
Yeah,
they
road
all have to go
maintenance.
vote on it,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
Or if they're gonna set up a new budget for the here and then you'll have to set a note on it.
You do this all the time. I read these all the time.
Well, could I ask, what does the planning board care about that? I mean, we don't care about that, do we?
Except for something happens to the HOA, they're not assessing or paying enough dues to cover the financial costs. Something happens to the road gets blocked, town's not gonna fix it, they don't have the funds. So all of a sudden, the road is in disrepair. People
My
can't get
point
in.
is that we're here to approve or approve with conditions.
And they don't wanna pay their taxes because they can't get it.
Okay,
out of
so
their-
that is not our issue, I don't think.
No,
is
but
it-
if
is that our
it's
issue?
addressed properly in the CCs and Rs.
I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't be complete, I'm just saying that I don't think the planning board should be in the business of necessarily reviewing the CCNRs. If we have anything we want to say, we should put in the conditions of approval in the notice of decision and be done with it. That's my 2 cents. I mean, they can have a 2-page homeowners association. We just require one in the subdivision regs, right? So we shouldn't be in the business of legislating what's in their CCNRs, because I'm sure there's lots of things you could put in there, but they could all go out the next day as soon as the homeowners get together.
I believe the ordinance just states that the planning board needs to see a copy of it.
Okay.
And that I would think that your town's attorney would have you,
Right, I think that's a good idea.
the town of Lyman's best interest.
So what you're looking at is they're bringing how they're gonna build this subdivision.
Right.
That's their operational mandate.
Yeah, and I will note that we
Okay,
did
that's fair.
include our inspection, maintenance, and housekeeping plan
Okay.
that goes over all of the maintenance of culverts, sanding, any pipes, the maintenance of the wet pond, all of that is within that document. It's at the back of the stormwater report that we submitted with the preliminary plan, actually, and that we resubmitted with this final plan application. It's been that's another thing I wanted to mention. It was revised when we added the private road. We had to add treatment and detention for that added impervious. So we did modify the stormwater report. So the inspection, maintenance, and housekeeping plan is in there. You can review it. It's all really standard language that, and it meets all the requirements of DEP as far as maintaining maintenance logs. And those logs have to be filled out after inspections of these items several times a year. They're all collected, and then every 5 years, that wet pond has to be recertified by DEP. That will be a condition of approval with our DEP permit. All of that is going to be an exhibit within the HOA documents. So it's very important that these things get maintained because they don't function properly if they don't. So it is within the language.
And I think we should read it because a quick perusal through here, I did see that the planning board is mentioned here in a few places.
I'm happy
Yeah,
that we are.
We could get involved in some issues.
I know this is the first subdivision we've done with an HOA,
Yeah, well, first one I've done.
because the subdivision regs were changed. Yeah, we haven't had one with an HOA before. No, I'm on subdivision here of 2005, there's no HOA there. But I'm just saying that the subdivision regulations were changed to require an HOA. And primarily, the reason was to maintain the,
Secretary of the association.
yeah, but I mean, maintain also public, for example, if there was a water tank there. Right now, the water tank in our subdivision, the town would be responsible for maintaining it because it was approved before that requirement had been added. So that was where I was coming from. So this is the first one we've had, to my knowledge, that has an HOA agreement. I'm not saying we shouldn't look at it, but I'm just saying that I'm trying to figure out in my own mind whether we need to nitpick it or I think send it to the town attorney and get his 2 cents would be a good idea. And then see where we go from there.
Has Hannah reviewed that?
I was just about to say that Hannah will provide review comments on the final
good.
application. Hannah from Southern Maine Planning, and I always mess it up, SMPDC. It's a long name. Yeah, but from Southern Maine Planning, she will review the application and the final plan and offer comments, which will give us an opportunity to make any changes before you see it again. I would like to just resubmit the plans that do change rather than providing 9 copies of the full plan set again, if that's fair to you.
Quick question. I haven't seen it. Again, quick perusal. Do you have conditions that the developer will maintain control of the HOA up till such a point as 50 or 51%, 75% of the lands are sold and developed?
I don't know. the percentages, but I believe there is language
I was gonna say,
within
I
there.
haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And that protects the municipality, say 3 lots get sold, the economy tanks and the rest goes undeveloped. Someone has the responsibility to maintain the properties as such.
I wonder if you could maybe coordinate some of that language between the board and the town's attorney, potentially. Yeah, that would be great. Just,
Any more questions for them?
I think I've beat it to death.
All right, Kendra, we'll set you guys up to be on the next meeting, first Wednesday in June.
okay, I'm sorry, one more thing. The signage as far as access to the open space, are you requiring that we change the plan in any way or add a condition of approval of any sort for that?
Would that be, okay, I don't think it's changing the plan, I just think it's delineating access to the public, to the common land.
Right, so are you asking for signage or
Yes.
anything? So I would have to show that on the subdivision
Do we require to put that on the plan?
plan.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be like requiring a sign to say down to the retention pond, it's just down there,
I don't think,
homeowners association access.
not a safety issue.
I don't think it needs to be on the plan, I just think it needs to be there.
Okay,
And
Josh,
maybe a
a
caveat,
sign needs to be there.
maybe a little sentence in here, homeowners will access common land via this here at the hammerhead.
Okay.
So that when they sign the dotted line, they're agreeing that. Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, so the indigenous tree frog down there.
Don't even say that.
Any more
IFNW
questions?
did not mention that.
Good. Good. As in construction, you have to change a whole stream because of salinity.
We did do a vernal pool study. And all of the vernal pools are on the opposite side of the development. And they are non-significant.
Good.
Okay, so we're all set.
Here we are.
All right, thank you.
We'll see you at the next meeting.
Everybody's leaving. Was it something I said? Rollins family's a good family. Yeah, it is. It really is.
Can I ask you what you think of uncertified residents in the state of Grace?
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, it's important. Really is. So I deal with a subdivision now, maintenance.
Thank you.
Roads are 21 feet wide. Well, if we all drove some compact cars, that'd be one, but we don't. You drive a trailer, the road's not wide enough for 21 feet, they all should be 24 feet. You can't even plow the
Do
road
that.
without having interference with
So
vehicles.
I don't care if a person you agree or oppose with whatever it is. I can go by this. And then that's where it should be. That's where we have this.
Yeah, it's all important
And I
how
think
we read that, though, I mean, because
talks about things. Well, thank you.
I can see that these next doors.
You know, if you took this out, then it's
Gotta be in
Yes.
his mid to late 80s.
It's 207.
He ran it
Oh, yeah.
there where he lives. And,
It's like when we go.
there's an extra to the job.
And that's report on observations on Saturday.
Okay,
Oh,
MX 207,
Simple.
guys, ready to review MX 207?
There's- I think that's George Stewart.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Oh, here's another one. Too much. I wonder if he's gotten this.
So,
Just a copy of this email. Whenever you're ready.
go ahead, go.
I just, Mr. Stewart's here, he's the owner, well, are you the owner or I know are you the father of the owner?
No, that's a good question. I'm the owner.
You're
Me and the
owner.
bank, yes, sir.
Okay, of MX 207, and I don't,
My son Danny has come to the meetings when I was in Florida,
oh,
so
okay, I wasn't sure who was
he'll
the.
be the owner next time, so.
Yes, I can see that. I was just going to comment, and I did not send a copy of this, but it certainly is available. It should be given to Mr. Stewart. I visited the planning board conducted a site walk on the 10th, which was a Wednesday, 10th of May. And we looked around a little bit. Mr. Stewart explained the operations, the fact they were going to get an extra ambulance during events, the parking areas. And I wrote down, at least on the notes, that 20-foot wide lanes were needed by the fire department, and also that the fire department should have access to the secondary entrance. Mr. Stewart has purchased a hardware for hooking up a hydrant to the pond, the existing pond that's there. And the questions that I think we came up with at the time, and these are just general questions, whether this MX 207 falls under campground rules, which are apparently a little more restrictive, and that possibly the planning board or the code enforcement officer should visit on a race weekend. The electrical inspector, Marcel, was there, and he said he was going to talk to Brenda about possibly making a weekend visit, sometime when there was an event going on, see what's going on there, because he wanted to look at the electrical setup. And then the issues that I saw for the planning board were to try to incorporate anything that the fire department wanted to include with respect to access and safety requirements, and also specifically include the use of Knox locks on a gate so that the fire department could get through a gate if it were locked, especially the secondary gate, which I know you have. It looked clear when I was there on Saturday, but it had a gate there. Maybe that gate wasn't locked, but whether that's clear, I didn't try to drive up there. But then so that's all I saw really. And the only thing I had questions about, I saw the road that was that you had marked off with white lines. I did not measure it. I don't think I had a tape measure, but it didn't look to me like it was 20 feet wide. No, maybe it was. It looked to me like maybe 15 feet wide or something. But the issue that seemed to come up was that the campers were pretty close together, and you're not trying to restrict them to specific lots. You're letting them park. I mean, everything was neat and orderly. I didn't see any issues there or anything like that. But Chief Duros was concerned that if in the middle of the night or something, one of those campers caught on fire for whatever reason, then it could spread to other campers and there wouldn't be any space between them. I'm not any space, but there would be very little space between the campers. So that was an issue. And just generally the access there. And let's see what else. I don't think there was any, people were having a great time there. I don't know, these kids are nuts, but they were flying through the air. Thank God I wasn't doing that because I couldn't think I could take a landing like they did. But they were being, there was an actual event going on. It was a very, I thought it was well organized and the area was clean, there wasn't a lot of debris around and things like that. But the fire department had some issues. And then I noticed in our package, there's an email from a gentleman, I don't know, I don't think you've seen this, but first time I've seen it, but it's from a gentleman from, I guess from Maine Gov, oh, I see, Public Health Inspector, Michael Sullivan. And he specifies, he said that below is the email I sent to, he said I sent it to Bill Stewart of
Yeah, I
MX
just
207.
received that this afternoon.
I'm sorry?
I just received that
Okay, the first time.
driving up here, yeah.
Oh, okay, and it says he needs to apply for an event camping license. And then he says, and stop serving food out of those 2 little huts. I didn't see maybe there was a second little hut, but I mean, I saw one small hut that you were offering some kind of food from or selling food from. So I don't know, I guess he doesn't like that, sorry. So anyway, my thought was the planning board ought to defer to the fire department for as much as possible for safety requirements and ask the fire chief, and I see the assistant fire chief is sitting here, and ask them to provide us a list of what they would like to see written into the notice of conditions for the site plan approval. So anyway, so this thing's pretty simple from the planning board point of view, as far as I'm concerned. It's just a matter of making sure that it meets the fire department requirements and also any campground requirements. So that may complicate things a little bit.
In the food.
That and the
Also.
food and his recommendations until you do, get a couple of food trucks. Everyone loves tacos.
Yeah, I mean, food trucks are good, a little hard to get immediately. People have their seasons lined up.
Yeah.
He had some issues with septic
Thanks.
on the food building, which is just a hamburger hot dog thing, not a big restaurant or anything, but he had some issues that he said required a septic. I haven't found out yet exactly what a septic is for one sink, but I mean, whatever it is, we'll comply with it. And he wanted to get the water tested. And I mean, he gave me a whole list of
Oh, he
things
did?
that
Okay.
we need to comply with. That building's something that was built by the Lions Club years ago, and we took it over. There's no problem with updating any of his recommendations. I had a long talk with Michael Sullivan.
When did he come by?
Ooh, let me see. It was, I think, Friday,
Oh, Friday. Huh? This past Friday? Or-
past Friday, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so him and another gentleman from Augusta. Huh?
Scott Davis.
Scott Davis. So the two of them were up there and we had a long discussion, but I mean, the food stuff, yeah, there's some stuff we need to do and get all certified and through his department. And then also they handle the camping issue. I had applied years ago for a temporary campground permit. He advised me not to because those are limited to the number of events you can do. He suggested applying for an event campground permit, which has different parameters,
Yeah.
what they're looking for. And again, I just received the same email
Yeah.
tonight when I was driving up here, so I read it as quickly as I could, but I'm not 100% familiar with it, so. But I don't see anything in there that we wouldn't comply with anyways.
Yeah.
Now, wouldn't that have to be part of the site plan that they could have temporary camping?
Well, and
Yes, and septic.
it's temporary camping that has concerned me from the beginning.
Correct.
And it says here, I don't even understand this, one portable toilet per 150 campers. Is that a typo? That can't be right.
He's got it two places.
There is a standard for one portable toilet for every 50 people at an event for every 4 hours. If you're gonna have an event for 4 hours, you need to have one portable toilet for every 50 people there, is some standard.
And what my
That's a
concern
big
has
difference.
been,
But this is, like,
I mean, how many campers are there on a typical weekend?
There is no typical weekend, number one. So it varies. I'm only guessing at the numbers. I don't have an accurate count on that, but
Well, I've been hearing 2,000 people a weekend. And is that reasonable?
no.
Okay.
We sell wristbands when people come in. Our high number is 1,500. We do that once a year. A normal busy weekend is less than 1,000, and often it's 500.
So if you have even 500 people there on a weekend, what are they using for bathroom facilities?
What was the question?
What are those 500 people using? Because not all of those people have campers.
Correct.
Most of those people are probably,
Yeah, no, well, we have 16 porta potties. I haven't really done the math yet, but a large, maybe 40% are motorhomes, self-contained.
Well, 50 times 16 is 800, right? So
I didn't do the math.
for starters, so, but it says 150, so in theory, you could go to 2,400, which seems like a long line.
That
The
must be a
seat would never
typo.
be
That'd
cold,
50.
Brenda.
I was just really worried if this planning board was okay with that. but-
150.
Well, I think it's a little excessive too, but
I'll bet that's a typo because this gentleman mentioned 50. I mean, 50 people
But that's
for
for
4
a
hours,
daytime event, I don't really
for
know.
4 hours, but
And, I mean.
The one is a
from the
typo.
website, It looks like sometimes you have campers there 3 nights, 4 nights, something like that.
4 nights, no, that's a long stay, 3 nights. There are people that come in early and we charge them a lot of money to come in early because I don't want them to come in early.
I saw that.
But some people don't care.
Oh.
But if they're 3 or 4 days, and I'm not a camper, you can tell. And I know they're self-contained. Is what they're using,
their tank, their own tank and their camper.
right?
Right.
Is that
Which has
adequate?
limited
4 days,
capacity.
3 days, 4 days? And you don't have dumping facilities on your site, right?
No, I don't. I don't have any dumping facilities that are available to the public, no.
Okay. So would they go, I don't know, up to one of the campgrounds or something?
There's a lot of places. Cabela's, everybody knows Cabela's does it. State of Connecticut, all the rest of the areas do it. I mean,
Well,
keep,
I was thinking like the Blackbirds, a lot of them. I know the one of them. I know a lot of campgrounds do.
Sanford does too at their, they have a dump facility.
I don't know.
Town.
we tell people, take it home with you. You know, it's like-
Sure, can I just address the board on
Sure.
the fire department? I'm up against the hard.
I couldn't see you back there.
That's okay, I'm up against a hard bedtime, and it's not just mine, but it's hers too. So, if I could just talk, and George, thank you for coming tonight and being great to work with Chief Drew Ross, he's really appreciated that. Good things are happening. I have the statistics from Northeast Mobile Health, that's the private ambulance company. I know one of the stipulations that you guys had talked about earlier was having them be around more for the transports. So far this year, in Goodman's Mills, we've transported 2 patients from MX207. Northeast has transported 2 as well, so that is positive. Our transports that we have done have been at 8 o'clock at night, 6:10 at night was the call. It took an hour and 49 minutes before they got the main men back, so they were back at the station by 8:02 p.m. And then on 5/6 at 7:33 p.m., and they were back a little before 10 o'clock. So that process is working, and that's been really great. I'll go back to that in a minute. And then, as
Dawn.
Mr. Hernan had talked about, I'm trying to think of his last name for a second, but yes, as Don had talked about, Matt and George or Billy or somebody they met, and it seems like the hydrant is moving forward, that was a concern. The width of the road, that's been positive, as well as the back entrance. So the only thing that we're left, and it's kind of like all the stuff you're working with, is the width between the campers. And then you go to an event license, so we want to research what's an event camp requirement versus another, and if it's even anywhere in there. So we couldn't find an NFPA requirement, but I wonder if there's some other, so we just want to make sure we're still working on that.
Okay.
But we've got some time, we'll work it out. They've been great to work with. And I'm taking a class on mitigation right now. And so I thought this was an important thing because oftentimes on the planning board, you don't hear your success stories. And so I received these numbers from Northeast Mobile Health Services just today. And we don't know the impact of what we're doing, but I want to share this story with you. So on Saturday, May 13th, it was a race day. Northeast saw 16 patients total. They suggested 4 go to the hospital to be transported, and none of them did end up being transported. But had the ambulance not been there,
Is that the AMA column?
no, that's the AMA column. Yep. So they so far this year, Northeast has seen 65 patients at MX207. 11 have refused transport against medical advice.
Wow.
And there's only been 2 transports by Northeast and 2 transports by Goodwin Hills. So that's positive. But what I think is really positive is on Saturday, it was a race day. There didn't end up being any transports, but there were those 4 who needed medical attention. And sometimes they would call us up there to help them with that. But they had the proper staffing, they were able to do that. And on Saturday, we had an 18-month-old go into cardiac arrest. And had our ambulance been further away or committed, that mother would not have had their child for Mother's Day the next day.
Wow.
And so that's something that you don't realize the impact that that's had. But we had a mother celebrate her second Mother's Day. And you can't get those moments back. That child is very sick. There might not be a third Mother's Day. But she had a second Mother's Day. And that's because of the planning and the proper mitigation strategies that you guys have implemented. So thank you.
Do they actually have a designated first aid station or a staging area where the ambulance sits while the events are going on? Or is it just, oh, well, here's a spot that's open?
There's a designated spot
Okay.
at the track, and we know where that is, and we know that when we go, we meet them there.
It's a pretty, it's a procedure that's been developed over the years. So, I mean,
Yeah, and Northeast provide us with their operational plan for when they go, so that's all part of the process now. So
Can we get a copy of that
For the record.
I assume so, yeah. I did write up a little bit of a memo. It's very simple because I had computer
Oh, you give
issues.
it to me.
Give it to
Don't
Julie.
give it to them.
Never see it again.
So now, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thanks for
thank
stopping
you. Thank you
by.
for coming
We
in.
try.
Good night.
Go to bed.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night, Sam.
Sorry to steal your thunder, George.
But are you gonna, is the fire department gonna give us anything in writing?
Yeah, once we get things finalized and, we're still working through it, but it's been good to work through this process with them.
Yeah.
And so that's positive.
Okay, good.
I want you to know, good news, good things are happening. We feel, or the chief feels like things are safer there and the community is better protected because of, we're not, and sometimes it's a 3-hour transport, the transports have been a little bit less, thankfully, but
But you never know.
Any recently
That's
done
great
with
news.
Goodall or Southern Maine?
they're not trauma centers and almost 90% of the calls we're taking out of there. There's no trauma surgeons on, Southern Maine Med won't necessarily set a broken bone right now. We gotta take them to Portland.
Really?
They'll, not after hours.
Huh. That's it.
Quick little afterthought, hopefully never ever needs to come up. Procedure and plan for getting lifeline in.
So, George's other son, Bill is a life flight medic,
Oh, yeah.
or has been. So we have a landing zone in Hollis, just down the street.
Okay.
The issue there is with the number of people, many people have drones now, and there's no real way to control
Yeah.
drones and grounding drones, and one drone into the propellers of the helicopter, could be a really bad day for a lot of people. So we go a couple of miles down the road for the landing zone.
So
We've used that once, maybe twice.
So there is a plan in place in case, worst case scenario,
Yes.
Life Flight come in and land at whatever parking lot field.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all predetermined. They have the coordinates. We have the coordinates. Our dispatch has the coordinates, and Hollis has it to help us as well.
Hopefully you never have to use it again.
I don't think we've used
Thanks,
it
Ben.
yet.
Thanks, Ben.
What's that?
I said, I think we've only used it once years ago.
Yeah, probably 4 years ago, maybe. 5 years.
Oh, way longer than that.
Think so?
It was a head injury, yeah.
Wow.
We have used it in the past, and, yeah. Good. All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's good.
I'm not a medic, but I will say, Northeast does a very good job. A lot of times, it's much faster to package them up, put in the ambulance, go right to Portland. Waiting for a life flight sometimes can take more time. And, I mean, depending on the type of injury and what have you. You know, and like you said, my son is a paramedic, helicopter guy. And there's instances where you want to go to Boston, you don't want to go to.
So
That
do you
would be
plan
a-
on applying for an event camping permit?
The event, yeah, I'm gonna be applying. I haven't because I just got this
I
today.
understand you just got it, but I'm asking, do you plan on applying
Oh,
for it?
absolutely, yeah. There's nothing in there that we don't already do, so, except for the money.
Go
Well, I
ahead,
mean, I'm
Brenda.
sure there's a fee. I haven't read it yet, but.
So I'm not sure what the process is now, because I think back along, you mentioned that you no longer do conditional use permits. So this is a
Site plan review.
Site plan
But
review.
I feel that if there's gonna be camping there, it has to be included in the site plan review, and it has to be very specific that it's gonna be event camping, limited to say, X amount of events per year.
Right. It should be based on those, that criteria.
Right.
And number of days
I
can.
The
can
number of
give
days
you
per
a
camper.
copy of the email. I mean, I can.
I have a copy of it right here.
The whole 170 pages?
Oh, no.
We didn't print off.
Oh, okay.
Oh, God, no.
You don't want
No.
No.
I have that. She has them if you decide you do want them.
Yeah, it says total number of event dates not exceed 50 nights in any calendar year.
And I think that, your site plan, your decision should include that.
All
type of-
this.
Reference
Yeah.
to it, yes.
Right, and I would also like, this dialogue, this has worked out so well, the dialogue's been wonderful, I'm glad everyone's come together. It's really been impressive, it really has. And I found that, Bill works very hard to do what he's expected to do, he's right there. I think that when the time comes, I guess you would vote on conditions of approval, is that what?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I would like to see you keep along the same lines that you do with, I don't know, like say the gravel pits. You know, we have to
Oh, we can put that in.
revisit that.
Revisit, yeah.
I wouldn't like to revisit every 2 years.
No.
But I think every
No.
5 to
I
6
think
years it
five.
should be revisited.
And the reason is, I mean, that
Things
really
change.
is a growing facility, and I think it's a good idea just to keep records of how that's going. So how would this go forward? You had your site, so would there be a public hearing now, and then you
Well-
would vote on the?
Well, didn't we vote, I thought we voted at a previous meeting to extend the, until October. So it would seem like what we should do is get
An
this nailed.
application
Yeah.
first. We need an application.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
get this-
update the application to include camp.
Yep.
Camp
Right.
room?
Yep.
Okay,
And the fire, and probably it would be good to put in there any fire department restrictions. or-
And I'm hoping that the
requirements.
fire department can come up with the width they want between the campers.
Well, wouldn't that be covered under temporary campground rules and regulations?
I don't know what's in there, Kelly,
Yeah.
but I would like the fire department to tell us what they want.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, what was the assistant's name?
That was Ben Harris.
Ben Harris.
Ben Harris.
So I didn't want to say it in front of him, but there is a fire specification for campers in a campground.
NFPA, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm assuming at some point they're gonna find it. but it's way less than what I've been telling people, so.
I'm sorry, what do you mean way less?
We've been telling people 20 feet, and I think the code is like 10 feet or something.
I looked to me like people were closer than 20 feet when I drove around. I'm not saying, I didn't measure it or
Well,
anything.
that's what we marked the spots off at.
Oh, really?
It
Yeah.
has to be more than 10. I
But
think
we'll
that's-
find out what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to usually have a
I
vehicle.
mean, I'm not concerned that it's gonna be restrictive, I guess is what I'm saying.
We got plenty of, you got a lot of room there, but of course you,
Well, we do and we don't, when you get that many campers in there.
Now,
And
do you have a well up there at all?
I have a 12-foot shallow well, not for drinking water or anything like that. And actually, it's not even working right now, but that's beside the point. But that's just for filling the barrels for washing the bikes, everybody pressure washing the bikes after the races.
Because I almost think if you're gonna have event camping there should be at least 1 or 2 portable water spigots. I
is
mean,
that a requirement?
Well, the health guy wanted me to get the water tested. I mean, I've
Right.
never let people drink it because we never have
Yeah.
had it tested.
Right, but
But I think because you're serving food there,
Yeah,
even,
well-
even for hand
Yeah,
washing, the
we've
water
always
is supposed
used-
to be
Okay.
somewhat,
I haven't
You know.
seen the temporary camping rules for that, but I'm sure they have in there that they need water somewhere.
Well, yeah, Brenda gave us, or Julie, you gave us a list of, or list.
Well, that's from the health inspector.
Oh, but wouldn't that cover rules relating to campgrounds? So we said this all in that big package that he sent or something?
There's a lot more than what I gave you.
Okay.
Right.
I have,
I mean, how many times can you say the same thing? I don't know.
yeah,
Anyhow, but, okay.
I got, this one's the food one.
With the food, one. Oh my
Food
God.
code, and this just, administration and enforcement of establishments regulated by the health inspection program. So I'm thinking maybe campgrounds are in it. I didn't read it, I just printed one copy because that's a lot of paper.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is.
I don't think you guys each want this.
No, I,
No, but I'm gonna look online, see if I can find something.
We can email you these, we got them electronically, so if you want us to send those to you, you can look on.
That'd be fine.
That'd be helpful.
Yeah.
okay, well,
Go ahead,
The other thing
Brenda.
that I'd like to ask Bill about, and we did notice on the website that it talks about selling fuel. But I think Dan told me that you don't sell fuel, but the website did. There is a fuel tank out there, and Dan said that's empty. If it's empty, I think it should be removed.
Well, anytime we have a fuel tank like that, we usually make it be undercover and have a berm that's 1.5 times bigger than a fuel tank.
Well,
That
let me
will hold
just
fuel.
clarify that. We don't sell fuel.
Okay.
We don't have a fuel tank. We do have a diesel tank that I use for my equipment, which is in a shed with a cement septic tank under it. That's the only fuel, but we don't sell fuel.
Your website said you did.
Well,
That's
there
okay.
was, several years back, we were selling cans of fuel, raised fuel, which I stopped doing. The reason being, everybody came with their own. And it was a pain in the neck for me to get it and store it. The fire marshal only let you do, I think it was 60 gallons.
It's
And then-
super high octane.
Sometimes it is, yeah. It's come down because I think they figured out the price of it wasn't worth it. You know, you put all that in and you only turn the throttle halfway, so. But anyways, I didn't know it said that. I'm gonna look into that because I don't wanna tell people we sell it.
Yeah, so
No.
because we were questioning it.
Huh?
Brenda and I were looking on the website and it said something about selling of fuel. Maybe that's when you were selling the cans. But I think the board needs.
That would
to
be an
know
old one.
What kind of hazardous materials are, I mean, if you're
Right.
cleaning fluids, you need a list of what you have on site and what it's used for and the MSDS sheets with it perhaps.
And
that's a
when they
requirement.
clean their bikes off, is that just running onto the ground?
What do you mean? Oh, when they wash the
pressure wash the
bikes?
bikes, it just run onto the dirt?
Yes, it does, yes. Just mud off the bikes.
And on your tank, do you have any kind of a spill control cleanup?
We
In
have,
case you spill diesel fuel? Do you have anything to clean it with? I mean,
well, I have the mats, the white mats, the oil mats
okay.
that absorb the
The
spill.
overspill, okay.
Mhm. But the tank is one of those 275 gallon,
Right, but you're not gonna drive your truck over the tank to fill it.
well, we do actually.
So your building's that big to get the truck in?
Oh, we don't, no, we drive out next to it and the hose is right there. Oh, I see what you're saying. No, we fill the equipment like a bulldozer or a loader or something, stick the nozzle in,
Right, but you still have the chance of spillage.
well, sure. Chance.
I'm just asking because I'm curious. 'Cause-
Yes. It's like I go to the gas station, put it in the nozzle, you could
Right.
spill it.
And all the sand pits, we make them have a spill control cleanup
Right.
for things like that.
Is that near the pond where your
No.
diesel is? No.
But these are all questions that are gonna come up when you do your permitting and,
Yeah, I've already gone through this.
right, but it's a long time ago and I don't remember.
Well, we had to
Having a
have a
fuel
spill
tank.
kit and other things, yeah.
I don't remember having a fuel tank on the permit. I really don't.
Yeah,
But that was a long time ago too. It's possible it's there. I'm just saying, I don't remember there being a fuel tank.
well, again, just to appease the question, we don't have race fuel, we have the diesel fuel for the equipment, that's it.
Yep.
And that's delivered by Carol
Yep.
up in Limerick.
Okay, so we're definitely gonna need an application, Brenda. And I hope the fire department's expedient with what they want. Does anybody else have any questions?
No, I'm just, I agree with you on the concern over the diesel. Someone that you hire who's not you and used to procedures goes and pulls a hose and gets a little sloppy, doesn't
Well,
forget to shake it.
There's a lot of filling going on up there, because you got all these dirt bikes.
Mhm.
People taking cans and filling the bikes. Do you have a designated area where they have to go to fill, or do they just fill?
They do it right next to their truck. But honestly, I've never seen that as a problem. I know you want a better answer than that, but they're paying $80 for 5 gallons of fuel, so.
Yeah, I
They don't
know
spill
it's
much.
expensive, but again, if you have 100 bikes there and they all spill a cup or half a cup, that's a lot into the ground.
Your conditions in 2004, and that was the original.
The
permit.
original.
And I think what happened is you revisited that, I think the first time 5 years and then 10 years.
Well, it was three years and then 10 years.
Something like that, yeah. And there were some conditions on there that I don't know if you decided not to revisit when you renewed that. And part of it is, I'm just reading here, provide for water supply, which means demands and proportions to fire protection. I don't know that. There was one here though. I don't know if you have that copy, 2004. We gave it to you originally, but we given it so much.
There's too much stuff.
Adequate number of spill kits will be on site at all events.
That's what I was looking for.
Right, and then if you dump your bike out on the track, there's a breather hose on the top that's gonna come out. I mean, this,
Interesting, now they have one-way valves. It'll benefit. I know, I just put one on my bike, my auxiliary tank,
This is 2003.
when they're not supposed to leak. Okay,
So what do we need to, before we can continue on this? We need something from the fire department, I guess, right?
Yep. We need an application filled out.
Okay, so if we get you an application, then you want, public hearing?
Well, I would like to do another site walk, to go up and look at some of the stuff like the fuel tank and, I mean, to me, I almost think there should be a place that the bikes have to go to fuel up.
Like a designated pit.
Like a
tunnel.
designated area, they go to fuel up, so there's like a catch basin or something in case they dump stuff.
Concrete pad, capable, so big with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to be outrageous, but
No?
any sand pit in town that has fuel, we make them do that.
They have affordable.
And they probably have 2 or 3 tractors. I mean, we're talking maybe 100, 150 bikes on a weekend. And I know dirt bikes eat a lot of gas when you start riding them.
Yeah, but remember, these aren't just regular dirt bikes.
No, I know, they eat a lot of gas, Paul.
They do, but it's also very expensive fuel.
I understand that.
I believe there'll be, most normal people who are racing up there are gonna be really careful what they put in the bikes.
Well,
Not gonna be like
the
you're gonna
access
see
one,
normal
it's gonna be kind of a hard thing for me to, I mean, you can have an area, but it's gonna be kind of a hard thing to enforce because they go out, they do 5 laps, they come in, they don't use a lot of gas. They go inside their trailer and work on their bikes. I mean, I don't really know what they're doing in there. I just don't see a lot of fuel in there in race day, honestly.
So they could be fueling up in the trailer.
They fuel before they come up. I mean, tank holds, I don't even know what they hold anymore, a couple gallons, 2 or 3 gallons. And it's not like they're enduro riders where you're riding for hours and hours. It's 3 or 4 laps, depending on the class. The experts do 15 minutes. And yes, they're using a lot of gas,
Right.
while they're racing, but honestly, I don't see that as I'm not trying to sway you guys one way or another, but
Somebody tosses a cigarette. Do you have no smoking allowed or anything like that? I mean, I'm sure.
cigarettes
people
or
smoke outside.
marijuana?
Anything that lights up. But,
No, we don't have any signs or regulations, no.
right.
And I think these are all questions that are gonna come up when you do your permit, and I think they're gonna have to be addressed. I mean, that's my opinion. I mean,
I'm just being honest with you.
I understand you can't control what goes on in somebody's trailer, but our job is to protect the town and does anybody else have any questions or comments?
I think we gotta just start through the process, because we gave an extension for, till end of October.
Yeah.
That covers you for this year.
Right.
So we're not hurting your business right now. Well, not that we don't want to hurt your business at all, but I'm saying that covers it until then. Let's get on through the process here, and I'm sure there'll be a bunch of questions come up and try to resolve them and get on with it.
So,
So that we have a,
on the new application, what do you want on there that wasn't on the other one? Temporary camping?
He's gonna need temporary camping, which will have to meet all the criteria by the state for temporary camping permit. He'll need to go with the, if you're serving food, in order to get his visitor's license, he's gonna have to pass the inspection. So unless he does the improvements to pass the inspection with the water, the sanitation, preventing birds getting in through the eaves or whatever else I read, he's gonna need to pass that inspection before, so if he doesn't pass the inspection, we don't sign off on it.
Is that through the state? That's not through us?
That's not to us.
No,
It's
That's the state health code.
Mr. Sullivan.
Could you just make one of your conditions that,
He has to pass these inspections to do
She'll
that.
pass all state inspections.
so does that have to change the application so that you can just keep going forward, or, I mean, because
Yeah, if it's a condition, we can still go forward.
You
right?
still go forward. I mean,
It's stuff he's gonna have to do anyway. But on the application state, I'm having, event camping, and it, as such, it will comply with. I will be selling hot dogs or whatever, it will comply with.
So if you maybe make the motion to amend the application to include, because I think the primary thing the town is interested in is the temporary camping, correct? So if you just made a motion that you're going to amend the application to include that, then we can just still set your sidewalk.
Yep.
Does that make sense instead of getting another
Does.
fistful of paper?
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody else think so? or-
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
Do we want, you want to vote on that or something?
I would like that.
Okay, so what was that motion going to be? To amend?
You're going to accept the applicant's amendment to add temporary camping,
Event camping.
event camping as part of his application.
So moved.
I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor?
I,
And that will
Okay.
just save us another week in the process.
Yeah, let's not, we don't want to, because we're going to run out of time. I mean, we want to get this done as quick. Now, there's no emergency because we extended it, but
We
let's
extended
move
it
this thing
until
through.
October,
Yeah, let's move it through.
It's in full swing.
Yeah.
So,
He's wasting time here.
yeah, no one said to stop your operation, so. And theoretically, our site plan says you get 2 years to complete the project, so
Yeah, but he's already operating.
he's already operating. I don't think it'll take 2 years.
No.
Now, on the application, do we need to put the time limit for renewal or review?
Yeah, we should probably, that should be a condition.
Well, yeah, but that, I think that
That's what
could,
Brenda said,
that'll be
Right.
discussed as
She'd like to
part of the
have a-
application.
on some schedule where it gets reviewed every,
that was when we noticed the
Decision, right.
Recorded, and then we're all on the same.
Page.
right.
We're all done with that. Okay.
Well, if I have to like keep renewing periodically, which I don't have a problem with, is there any like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a lesser procedure?
There is a lesser procedure, and that's what we were talking about. Instead of coming back for a site plan
Full-blown-
review, you'll get a review through Brenda,
An inspection line.
an inspection.
Mhm.
You never have to come in front of
Yeah.
them again.
Unless you want to add another function.
Unless you forget to review for a
Well,
while.
no, but it was just
No.
inconvenient the timing of it because I was away when this all came up and
Yeah.
wasn't really expecting it, honestly, so.
Right.
Neither were we.
Yeah, and my son stepped up and next time, I wasn't really kidding when I said that. I mean, the next time, I'd like to see him take over and we get the heck out of here.
Retire.
Good idea.
What will happen though, because they do this with the town's gravel pits too,
Mhm.
I send out a letter saying that your biannual review is due between this date and that date, please give us a call. When we go out, take a look, if something's changed, then we have to go back in front of the planning board, I would expect. Or if something, if it's not compliant, I think if it's something that's not compliant, we can work that out between us. If there's a lot not compliant, then probably would have to go back to the board to reconsider.
Or if you-
Expansion of your,
Expansion, yeah.
of what you're doing, from motocross, go-karts to, can't even think, side-by-side racing.
Or you want to have a
Something that's gonna
restaurant.
be a major change of your operation.
Well, would ATVs be a major change or?
I think that would be a decision of the board. I don't think so.
I only say that because they are begging me to race there.
My suggestion on that is when you do your application, include it with your application.
Ask for everything.
If you think you're gonna want ATV racing,
I don't know what they
snowmobile
want.
racing, I would.
We used to do ATV racing and it was just the group was hard to get people to cooperate.
Right. But
Does
if
it
you-
take a different track though?
The what?
Do you use the same track or a different?
No,
track?
same track, but the bikes and the ATVs don't mix. So once the ATVs are out there, the bikes don't like it and vice versa.
But
They
the
just-
go-karts take a different track, right?
That's absolutely a different track.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think if it's a sport that requires a different track, maybe that would have to come. Would that be more reasonable?
Yes.
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah, an alteration to the youth.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if you decided to set up a food station, that would be a different, you'd have to come back here. If you're not going to go with the trucks, if you're going to actually serve food there, that should be included in your application too.
Yeah.
But you'd have to comply with all the
State
the
laws.
laws.
Yeah, I was reading through some of that stuff. There's a lot there. I mean, the food truck thing, I love that idea, but I've already been calling and there's nobody
They're all
available
booked
right
up.
now.
Yeah,
Booked
book
up.
them for next year.
Well, we'll see how it works out. Well, anyway, I would just suggest asking for whatever you think, you know, if you're gonna expand in some areas, ask for that as a thing. You won't have to bother. We won't have to bother you. You won't have to bother us again. You get it approved, get everything in one package. And then if you don't decide not to do it, that's your decision. That's none of our business.
But it's still,
But it's
saying it
covered.
gets approved, it'll be approved.
Yeah, it's covered.
So down the line,
For
you can
future.
do it.
Use if you want to.
You know what I was thinking? People now, you ever seen drone racing?
Oh, God.
It's a possibility it could come up. You've got a course, an obstacle course right now. You can do it.
It's funny you should say that because I just met with a guy this week.
Wants to do drone racing on your track.
Yeah, I'm a big aviation guy and I've been into the air races and what have you and stuff like that. And the drone racing concerns me a little bit with the spectator liability. stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's true.
So if you can't get spectators, you're not gonna get any money. And the drones themselves aren't gonna pay enough to come here. So it's all about money, like everything else, you know?
You're in the business to make money.
I mean, I'd love to watch them, maybe even just a closed course thing, but one guy goes out and runs into somebody's camper.
Oh, that's it, boy.
Well, it takes a little 5-year-old that's stretching his head over the wire.
Well, they signed the waiver though.
You know how good waivers are.
We want to do another sidewalk prior to the public hearing, or do you want to do a sidewalk after the public hearing in case something comes up from that? What is particularly?
Usually we do the sidewalk.
Usually you're supposed to do the sidewalk first.
Right, but you've already done one.
We
We
did
did
we've done
one, we
that's
did
true.
one. And
That's
then you're supposed to have the, you know, after everything's complete, you do the public hearing. And then you proceed with approval or not approval.
So what do
Normally.
we do next? Sidewalk?
I think we ought to allow Mr. Stewart to apply for what he wants.
Get his application and then we'll
Get the
go
application.
from there.
and
I
then-
thought you just accepted his application as amended, so he doesn't need
I
another application.
Don't have an application for it.
There is an application. There was an original application.
Okay.
It was
There's no
quite
date
extensive.
on it.
It was way back.
If that's,
It was
Way
one of
back?
the first things he did. I think it's, if I remember right, it's handwritten. And,
Okay, maybe it's okay.
yeah, April 2nd, 23.
we got it?
Yeah, this one here.
So if we could,
But it doesn't have the detail one. It just says motorsports racing, motocross, and go-kart racing, off-road motorcycle racing, and ATV. You do have ATV racing on here.
so you just voted to accept that as amended with event.
But that camp event, that's not on here.
No, but we just amended it to include that, so she doesn't have to do the paper again, so that we can move forward.
Yep.
So it would be in the minute, will be attached to that, that was amended to include event camping, so then the next step would be the site visit. I would think,
So are you gonna want to include food as part of that?
I'm trying to get a hold of Mike Sullivan. My biggest hangup is what he calls a septic system. Because I have one sink that goes out into a dry well. There's 2 layers of the cement tiles filled with gravel. And all that is the sink, but I don't know if they want, I don't know what he means by a full septic tank.
Yeah.
A full
If
septic
if
system.
you included the food, you could always delete it. It's harder to add it later.
I would think possibly as part of your condition, because the town really has no oversight over the food part. It would just be that he remain in.
Well, I mean, I can include it, and I'm not telling you how to write it,
It's
but
a
it could
use.
be pending approval by the.
State,
I
you have
would
to
just
follow the
say
state
that-
rules.
Right, as part of your conditions that he'll be in compliance with da-da-da-da-da, you can look at us the number. And that would be part of your conditions. I wouldn't think that would be part of your application, because we don't have oversight.
But I think it's still a use. I mean,
Is that-
Funky Bow It was,
Yeah, yeah,
we've had other applications, but if they're gonna serve food, it's a use, and it should be on on the
Are
application.
the dry wells even legal anymore?
No.
There's the letters that holding tape.
That was good. I like that.
I think especially when you get into food, they need, how you're disposing of your trees.
So I know like,
Certain vents.
I know they don't like Blackwater,
Right.
run into something like that.
It has to be
Gray
a
water.
separate tank.
Even gray water, can't pronounce
Green
it.
water, whatever
Yeah.
you wanna call it.
Well, I mean, right now, we don't have any toilets, so.
I'm just wondering when you start looking what the state's gonna require, because even the venting and everything, there's a lot of hot dogs and hamburgers to cover that portion of it.
Yeah, and that's not even a moneymaker. It's just one of them things where every track has it, so it's almost like you have to do it.
Yeah.
And in our case, it's even worse because Waterboro Market, right down the street, has got great food, better than anything we come up with.
Sure.
So, but I try to discourage people coming in and out of the track there. That's one of the rules, and all the bike guys know it, that nothing leaves the property unless it's registered and, a licensed driver, because I don't, I'm pretty friendly with most of the neighbors across the road there. And I try to keep the dust down as best we can and all that. And that ATV trail that runs alongside 202 is a pretty busy trail.
It is.
I mean, the food thing, I'm not all that disappointed that we have to stop doing it, because it gives me an excuse to stop it right in the middle of the race season is a little bit not when ideal, but it's something that all that stuff needs to be done, period.
Do you want to amend your amended application to include food, or do you want, get into where you want to do it?
Well, like the gentleman said, I'll include it and you can always scratch
Right.
it.
If you don't use it, if you're approved for it, you do it.
Right.
If you ask for it and you're approved, but you don't, no big deal. Then later on, you decide, hey, you want to get a glass.
So I'll put down like selling CBD and all that other stuff.
That's another use.
That's why you need another one of those stores.
Somehow I don't see that with that combination of that and the racing,
I don't either.
Gives me a little problem.
Those are all pretty healthy people up there.
Yeah, they are. I wouldn't want to ride one of those bikes. Oh, God.
So the next step is a site visit?
Yeah, I'd like to do a site visit on either a Saturday or Sunday when I don't have to rush to get out of work and.
Yeah, because I missed the last one because I had another meeting.
Well, I think there's like 9 events. If your tentative schedule showed something like 8 or 9 events, and I think you've gone through 2 of them so far, I think.
Yeah, we've done 2, but that's the MX,
Oh, the
that's the
MX stuff.
motocross schedule.
Yeah, so I don't know, there's.
Well, on the weekend when he doesn't have an event would be nice.
And there is no event?
Oh, I don't
Do
know.
you have an event every weekend?
No, we don't. Usually, if we're not having an event, we have what we call a practice.
I understand that.
Those are
Beginning
kind
of
of
June.
weak as far as the number of people, but it's the same idea, really. I mean, same thing.
You
going
don't have
on.
such a turnout for it, do you?
No.
I'm open anytime. Not a problem for me.
But we have an event planned for the 27th, 28th.
That's,
And
that's
then
one of our,
big
that'll
ones,
be
right?
one of our biggest ones, I
Yeah.
hope.
And the next subsequent one would be on, I think, the 17th.
I'm not sure, to be honest. Need my calendar.
Whatever it says.
Yeah, there is a tentative schedule here.
Yeah.
Anytime
That's pretty
you have
accurate.
It goes
event,
from the,
Saturday or Sunday.
from the 27th to the
17th
17th of June.
I'm sorry.
The 10th?
That would work for me.
What would be the second?
I guess.
10th of June.
10th of the 3rd? No, it's got the calendar.
10th is just the practice weekend.
I'm sorry.
17th is a main motocross race.
It's right here.
What time of day do you start your practicing? Bill? Is it
6,
later in the day?
On the week, the weekends are 10 to 4.
Yeah.
So when do you want to do it? We get the,
Either a Saturday or Sunday.
how about a Saturday? Do
That's
you think that's
fine.
better?
Mhm.
Do you want to do it on the, let's see, the 17th?
No, the 17th, he's got an event, so the
Right.
10th would probably be,
10th is, it's okay with me. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
have
the
any.
10th's fine with
10th
me.
is a Saturday.
You talking June 10th?
June 10th.
June 10, be there like 8,
I don't have a problem being there for 8.
and we did it last time.
There's
I
no,
know, 'cause I
there's
did.
no conflict when you're there, whether we've started or not. Either way, it doesn't matter.
I was gonna say, if they're practicing there, it's not like they're gonna be on the trails, or they're gonna have a situation set up, their big trailers or whatever. So I don't think it'd be,
Time you want to do it on.
it can be good to see how the
Is 8 o'clock,
situation operates.
is that convenient for you?
8 o'clock on the 10th?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
okay.
Yeah, June 10.
So we have
Look
to,
at you. I won't be there.
You come in your pajamas.
so we have to post, publish that, I mean, post it, I should say.
As an activity.
Okay, so we're all set for now. All right, we're all set for the night.
Thank you,
Have a
Sister.
good night. Thank you for coming in.
Yep.
It was nice hearing a good report from the fire department.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, they're good to work with.
and that looks like the feelings
The
mutual.
only thing we don't want to do is, we don't want the people not calling the ambulance because they
Right.
don't want to pump the numbers up.
Oh, no.
Right.
Yeah.
Agree.
And that happens, like one of the columns in that report is AMA, that's,
Against medical
I
advice.
forget what that means.
Against medical advice.
Something about,
I mean, they
refuse
don't,
medical advice.
right, they.
I don't know what the A is. Against medical advice or something like that. But anyways, we don't want them not calling because of not wanting to, put the numbers up higher and make things look bad. But
Right.
a lot of these guys don't want the expense of the
Right.
ambulance.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, because it costs, if,
Right. And
Yeah.
a lot of times, I mean, that number that he was reading there for the treatment, 65 or whatever it was, a lot of those are minor. Kids fall down and you get a thigh bruise or twist their ankle or
Yeah.
get a pain and they're crying and the mothers come over and, 15 minutes later, they're all fine out riding again. So, but that's still a treated event.
It's an incident.
It's an incident, yeah.
Would it be worth getting a registered nurse at your big events with a first aid station? Because a lot of that,
EMT.
or an EMT, right?
well,
Just
It's up to-
to have
No,
someone there and they
I was gonna say,
can take care of those
some
minor
life
injuries that don't require hospitalization.
Well, last year during a lot of the practice events, especially the big ones at the beginning of the year, like right now, the numbers are always higher because people still have money. They're all ready to go. They haven't broken any bones yet. And, we had the ambulances there. Like last year, a lot of times on the practice days, the numbers are so low. We can't really we can't pay Northeast to sit there all day. And 9 times out of 10, it's fine because nobody gets hurt, but it's up to God. I don't know how else to word it.
Yeah.
I've seen terrific wrecks where people get up and jump back on the bike, and I've seen tip overs where people hurt their head or something, so
you just don't know.
you just don't know.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's a sad commentary to the whole sport, but all motorsports is that way.
Dangerous, can be.
I'm not trying to make a sales pitch or anything. I mean, we've been there 18 years now and it's the same thing year in and year out, so.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming tonight.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you.
Good night.
You're welcome. Mr. Marquardt. Am I pronouncing that right?
know I was holding somebody up.
I gave him the T sign. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we're swapping 3 and 4 here.
Okay.
This is number 4.
Okay.
On your agenda.
Yeah, where's,
Oh, yeah.
I don't see 3.
That's
The
the
hidden spot.
hidden spot.
Sorry. Sorry. Okay,
All right.
Oh,
Yeah, we did a site walk back in,
Yes, we did.
Yeah, in
Yep.
December.
remember this?
and I'm just coming back with the, for the ruling. And in the meantime, I got the land surveyed and the septic plan done, so you'll see an updated chart with all the dimensions and where everything's gonna be.
Yeah, and this is 49 Shore Road, map 16, lot 45, I guess.
Yep.
And we did sidewalk on December 3rd of 22. And really, the only question I think you need from us is the best practical location.
Yep. I actually quickly today did a calculation to see what the expansion calculation was at 75 feet. And I actually, for the 75 feet, I'm moving back, the house is moving back 22 feet and the deck and porches are moving back 24 feet. So within 75 feet, I'm actually going down 39% of the footprint, which is pretty good. Which isn't on your sheet because I just did it today. I just
You
decided.
mean you're reducing the size of the house?
Well, I'm moving it back. So
Okay.
within the 75 feet.
You're, is most of the house behind 70, at 75 feet and more? No, right? Oh, 100 right here.
Yeah.
Right, I see.
Yeah, so I'm just moving everything back. I moved it back as far as I could because of the well is kind of, that's why the house kind of looks a little funny. I'm like, I literally went back as far as I could.
Yeah, it like angled.
I blew that site plan up. Do you want copies? I did it for my purposes. Would that help you?
Just look at yours before we pass it. Just pass it down.
because best.
What I did is I highlighted the 75 feet.
Yep.
The proposed is blue, right? Right.
Make sure.
And the, no, yeah, the
This stuff
proposed
just
is
red.
red.
Right.
So
Yep.
that might make it a little.
It's the same like spot as what you saw out there. The stakes are all the same. Everything's the same. It's just now I have the land survey. So it's put on with like real calculations with
Yep.
the numbers of the setbacks and
Question
everything.
where the fence was in the block line.
You guys like to look at this?
Yeah, because what happened was when I had the
The red
septic
zone.
engineer come out, he's like, where's the line? So then I'm like, gotta go get the site. So I got the land survey so we could actually, we know where everything is.
There was discrepancy at the site.
This part is
sidewalk,
behind
it was
the
like, I don't want to be involved.
Yeah, so now
Once you guys figure it out.
we figured it out.
Okay.
And it's all, everything's great.
May I just ask a question?
Mhm.
I'm looking at the corner, looking from the left, the left-hand corner of the existing building. I don't see what a measurement is for.
Of the existing building.
Right.
Oh, I didn't put
And
that. I was
then
just doing what the new building was, is
Right,
what
and
I
then
have
I'm
there.
looking at the corner of the new building. It looks close to the water, just looking at it quickly.
Which, can I come over?
Yeah, because I'm not, I'll give you a So I'm looking at, that's the corner of the existing building. That's the corner of the new building. It
Well,
looks
that's
like-
the porch, yeah.
I just,
This is the shed here, which is enclosed. This is all enclosed,
And
and
that's
then this
going.
is enclosed. Yeah, that's going. So
okay.
this is actually, the shed is similar to what this is a screened-in porch, and that's a screened-in porch. So you're actually going back 11 for the screened-in porch.
Yeah, 11 feet.
Okay. So I don't know if you take that large deck that's in the front of the existing building that goes so close to the water, if you take that as your closest point,
Which is 17
which is 17 feet, do you use that as your base point?
for the existing.
Is it a deck or just a deck or is it?
It's a, the 17 is a deck,
And that is attached to
the house,
porch, house, whatever you want to
attached to
call it.
everything.
So if you consider that.
That is the
17 feet
closest
as your
point.
base point,
Yeah.
That's what the existing is. And,
Correct.
and then I'm going back, the closest point would be 38.
Yep.
If you can see where that
Yeah.
closest spot to where the corner of the screened-in porch is.
So you're moving it back anyway. You're getting rid of the deck is what you're doing. One of the things you're doing, right?
Yeah, Well, I mean, I'm gonna have a small deck and a screened-in porch, but everything's just
You moved all that
It's moved
back.
move
back.
it back as far as I could,
Mhm.
basically.
Yeah, it looks about 30 feet.
Yeah, I'm not, yeah, because of the septic and and the well, you're sort of constrained back there.
Yeah.
And that's why I was looking at it today, because oftentimes, if you straighten the building, it's kind of kitty corner, if you straighten the building, you gain a lot that way.
Yeah,
But the well's right there in the corner, so you really can't.
you
do
can't
that.
move it,
Can't do
no.
it.
No, you can't move it. And you do have room you do have side, room to the, lot lines. I mean, there's some room anyway. Some room, 19 feet, 28 feet.
28, 22.
And you're moving your garage closer to the house.
That's,
No,
yeah,
adding a
that's,
garage.
Are you
It's a second
adding it?
garage.
You're gonna,
that's
That's
beyond
like,
75 feet though.
okay.
You're gonna leave the
Yeah.
other garage in place?
For now, the contractor wants to use it to put all everything in there if stuff comes. We might tear it down. I don't know what we're doing. I'm like, focused
That's
on
up to you.
this.
We don't-
Because
we
it's
don't care.
old and like stinky,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's not
that's-
like,
That's not an
it's
issue.
not gonna be
And that you
around
wanna keep it.
forever. Let me put it that way.
I just think that we have to look really close at the 20% lot coverage, because you're going from a little house to a bigger house, so you are increasing.
Yeah.
So maybe one of the conditions is that a certain period of time, the second garage be removed or something, I don't know.
Yeah, and we're removing part of the driveway. I have it in that thing, and we might end up having to remove a little bit more, I'm thinking. We won't know until the
To get
trucks are
money.
there and what they're gonna have to do for the septic, what they're gonna have to do, for the garage. So some of that driveway, it could possibly be more than what I did, what I showed.
Driveway
Definitely
would be larger or less?
less. We
Less.
need to remove it because the garage is gonna go, as you can see where the stripes are?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's all that I think we're gonna be removing, but I'm thinking it could possibly be more.
Okay.
Well, I think the setback is good myself,
Yes.
but again, as far as the old garage goes, if they don't exceed the lot coverage, I don't feel they should have to remove it, but if they exceed the lot coverage, they will have to remove it.
What I generally do is look at what they've got for lot coverage now, and we can't make them improve on that, but we can't let them go in more.
Right.
So whatever percentage she's at, if the new percentage is there, we're great. If she needs to sacrifice something to get to the original lot coverage, I can see that maybe she could get rid of some of that garage that wraps around the side of, some of that driveway that wraps around the side of the garage or something, that might do it for you.
Right.
And it comes up the driveway is next to the garage and really close to the front door, so there's some there too we could remove,
Right.
know?
I'm just thinking that because buildings are very expensive, and if she ever goes to sell this big resale value, having the extra building, but
Maybe you could just make that as part of your motion that
Yep.
the new project doesn't exceed the existing lot coverage or something to that effect.
Right.
And then that gives us a little room
Yep.
to work with it instead of saying specifically what needs to be done. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I'm just, two dimensions I'm not seeing, this is for me, I'm not seeing well to the septic and well to the leach field.
That I have from, the septic design, it's probably in that.
It's
It
probably
is.
calling for a waiver on it. so that-
Yeah, there is.
Certain finance companies, if you are not 75 feet, they won't finance it.
What I'm finding now, the state recently made a lot of changes to the septic systems, and they're not approving as many waivers now. What they're saying, they have a table now that if, say if you're 70 feet from the well instead of the required 100, then you have to do 70 feet of that enhanced casing in the
Yep.
well.
Huh.
So they're doing it that way instead of waivers.
Like, that's the state, I deal with federal. And Danny and Freddie are following FHA and USDA.
I don't have those specs.
That's why I'm just trying to prevent something in the future. You go to refinance and your finance has the appraiser come up and say, what's the difference between the well and the septic and the well and the leach field? And they're gonna go, I don't know. So then they got
Because I have-
three parts there.
It says
Yeah, no, I
on
have
septic
the,
design.
I have a septic design here.
It always states it on the septic design.
What does it say?
From the septic to the well. Let's see here.
It's saying-
Right here, I think. Is this, no, that's the neighbor. This one would be me, 55.
Okay. And it will say it in your waiver too.
It looks like it's about 20 feet.
So that hasn't been sent to the state yet for the waiver. It used to be it was automatic. I would just send it right back. Now they're saying they're using that table for the well casing. So if it's, oh, the well's already in.
Yeah, it's an existing well.
I don't know.
Well, the septic and the well are both existing, aren't they?
Well, the existing well, I mean, yeah, the existing well we're keeping.
Right.
The septic is really old, and I had the guy come with the camera and all that, and he was saying, he's like, honestly, he's like, I'm surprised it's working, because they put it in is really bad, and it's really old, and it's crumbling. It's crumbling,
So,
so it
but,
has to be replaced.
okay, but it can only go in that one spot where you show septic.
Yeah, and that's where it currently is, so they were gonna put the septic tank, like, where the existing one is, and then the leach field is generally in the same location. It's just, now it's designed a little differently.
Well, I guess I don't understand. Brenda, does she have to get a approval from, EPA to put the septic there? I mean, it sounds like it's gonna be too close. It's only 45 or 50 feet.
We would ask the state for a waiver.
How do you,
It's automatically on there. Like, I can't approve that septic system. It has to go to the state. They approve the waiver, they send it back to me, then I can.
So if we took a vote on this, we'd have to have that part of the condition that has to be approved
State.
By the
by the state for the septic system / well.
You could if you want to. I can't sign it if they don't waive.
Right.
So
right?
you can make it as part of the record if you like.
That we're recognizing.
Well, what happens if they say no?
I don't know. I really don't know.
That's beyond our-
I know, I'm
It's
just
on
saying,
our
here,
checklist.
the homeowner's got a problem,
Provide that.
Big problem.
big problem. I mean, I hope you don't have that problem. I'm just asking what the issue is,
I
what's
honestly
the
don't know what
procedure?
they're doing. They just started this. I got my first one a couple of weeks
Oh,
ago.
gosh.
So is this the right paperwork?
Yes, it absolutely is
Okay.
the right paperwork. Yes.
So I need
You've
to
done
turn this
everything you need
in
to do.
with,
Yeah. So what you will do is when you do your application for your new project, that will be part of it. And I'll sign off my part. I sign off that I'm sending it to the state. The state will sign off that they're doing the waiver. They'll send it back to me and then I approve it.
okay, so
So
it goes with the building permit.
It goes to the building.
Okay, so I gotta get on that to make sure,
No, there's nothing you have to do. You've done what you need. That's what I need.
okay, because we're supposed to start in like August.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
gotta do this quickly, right?
Yeah.
Just in case there's an issue.
Yeah.
August of this year or next?
Yes, this
Is
year.
there any more discussion or anything more?
I hope.
So we just need to vote on the location, don't we?
Nope.
I think what I think what
Best
your
practical location.
motion should be that the proposed structure will be no closer than 38 feet from the shoreline. And then what will happen is Danielle will have, her survey will come out and actually pin the foundation.
Yep.
And then
Can you-
foundation will go in.
Oh, I was gonna say, what I did is, well, yeah, that's what I did. I'm just, what I did is I took this thing here and I moved it over here and did that. So that's what I came up with, you know,
Oh,
the
that's not-
38.
That's not, this isn't a certified.
This is a certified map, but all these green is what I did. You know what I mean? All the green is
Oh, I
me.
thought this was done for certified.
No, he did the current land survey. He came out, all the black is what he did for the existing property. He has nothing to do with the new property. Because the new property is not there, you know?
Okay. so
Because this is all
Land,
proposed.
it's proposed.
This is the red is what, you know, I'm laying down on here, what we're proposing to do. So the black is all from the land surveyor. So, because he wouldn't have it, you know?
I thought we
It's
would
not what
require
land surveyors.
two
That's
plans,
what-
one
what-
with the existing.
Do
and
land
one with the new.
surveyors get involved
I
in
thought that was
Yeah.
a
new?
Yeah,
requirement.
because that 43 could actually be 46, 42'9".
Right,
So that's why we need a stamped plot plan.
You might be cheating yourself. I mean, you say it's 38, and we assume it's 38 and proceed on that, and maybe it was only 35, and then I need from,
Just
mhm.
does like, because I watched the video when 153 was here, Shore. Did they have Brad Lodge, because we use the same people?
What
Did
they-
he
yeah,
put
they-
the new house on it?
Yes, they did, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, what they generally do is on here, they would do a dotted line which would show you your building envelope. Your building is not within your building envelope, so we're not concerned with that. What we're concerned is your closest point of the house. And oftentimes, you see there's an inlet there, so your closest point might even be from here. You just, because of the way the shoreline is. So what they would do, I don't know how your motion would be then.
So he's just measuring what's existing, right? Not,
Right, he can measure what's existing. But if we say, okay, existing is this close, then he's gonna do you a building envelope based on that closest point. So we need to define the closest point we will allow you to build a house. And then he will use that point to give you a building envelope. And it will follow, your 75 setback here,
but like,
that's not real.
yeah,
That's not real because there's no such thing as a straight line for your 75. That should follow the shoreline.
yeah, what I did was I put, see these purple dots?
Yeah. Right.
That is 75 feet to the house point, 75 feet to the house point.
Right, but see, that's not 75 from here, which may be closer.
That's right.
So,
But no, I just have to be 30%, less than 30% of 75 feet, right? For the, what, no, so what's the rule?
30% is what you're allowed to expand within the 75.
Okay, so what is the rule that we're talking?
We're talking that ideally, the planning board would love you to be 75 feet from the water at every point. You can't do that. So they're going to find you the closest point they want you to build. And that's what you would move forward with, which we think is 38, but that's not certified. So you may be cheating yourself, or you may, that may not be a valid point. Am I explaining?
Yeah,
this?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just curious what I say to Brad Lodge, like ask him, what am I asking him to do? Because he doesn't have, like, the new house isn't there, so, I mean, I staked it,
You have a dimension though, right?
yeah,
You have
and
a
I
size.
staked it.
So
You
you-
got a set of blueprints. So you give him the blueprints, this is what I'm building. Place it on the best practical on my lot based on as close as my calculations. He'll go out there, he'll measure all the water line, get the closest point, and then
See,
manipulate it. We've seen them
okay.
tweak it 3 feet this way, a couple feet back, a couple feet forward to get your footprint in the most practical spot.
And what the planning board would normally want to know is the closest point of the existing house is your base point, right?
Right, you can't go any closer than
Right,
that.
you can't go any closer than that. And that's why I was asking them, do they consider the house the base point, or do they consider that deck the base point?
The deck is part of the footprint,
Yep.
So, and she says that's 17
even the
foot away.
overhang,
Right.
right?
So you would say that
The
she
old
could go
one.
17
No.
feet away?
Our job is to push it back from the lake.
Okay.
Which is what
Right.
we've
Which she
done.
thinks she can do 38 feet.
Right.
So do you want a motion that 38 feet is acceptable and that she not build within, or do you want to wait to get a real number?
Or just
I
say
would-
37
I
and
think
then
we
you're
ought to have a real
good.
number.
Yeah.
I'm just
real
afraid
number.
he's gonna charge me another $2,000 to do this
It's
because
just adding,
that's,
twitching and moving.
Well, we don't know. I mean.
yeah,
we
that I
don't- We
can't,
don't know. We don't know.
can't do that.
The thing is, Danielle,
Shouldn't he have known that?
I
That's
No,
what she
because he
wanted?
was just doing the lot plan.
Okay.
Like, it wasn't anything to do with the new house. It was survey the land.
You didn't
the
tell
thing
him?
is, you're going to need it anyway, because when you do your foundation,
Uh-huh.
right? He's got the figures for the existing building, right?
Yes,
We know those to be true.
yes.
So what he'll do is, whatever the planning board said is your base, he will pin your foundation at that base. They'll be pinned.
Okay.
So then your excavator will know where to dig for that foundation
After the demolition.
after the demo.
Okay,
And then what will happen is we do the foundation, everything's good, it's where he said it needs to be, I inspect it, the pins are there, everything's great. Then what happens, you build the building, everything goes, and at the end for your CO, he's supposed to come back and pin that you built it where you were supposed to build it.
okay.
But my next question is, have we talked about the 20-foot roof elevation?
Yes, that's,
You're within that?
yeah, definitely. That's why I have to have a 512 roof because of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're in line with that?
Yeah, because it's gonna have a walkout basement and the dirt will be on the sides.
Yeah.
You know, so I have all that.
So what can we vote on tonight?
Well, I'm just afraid if we vote 38 feet from the water,
I say 37 and we're like, and then you got a margin of error.
But what if you're actually 40?
I could be, but that's good, you know, but like,
No,
No, if you're
No.
40, then you'd have to move it back. We were,
Right.
geez, judging on 37 or 38.
oh wait, I'm not understanding. What are you saying?
if it turns out, you see it's 38,
Right,
and it turns out to be 40, and we've said that you can build within 38,
It's against the ordinance.
it's against the ordinance.
because
You
then
need
I'd
to
be
push
better.
back as far
But
as
then I'd be
practical.
better.
She's
And we're
40,
thinking backwards?
But 40 is good,
yeah,
better
you're
than
backwards.
38.
Okay,
Yeah.
If you said 37 is the closest,
if she
and
built
she's
at
40
36.
feet from there, she's 3 feet beyond.
Yeah, that's
Right.
good.
So more of the house is over the 75.
so she says she's
No, less
38,
would
she's
be.
actually 35, that's
More of a
real.
new
Yes.
house. More of
Right.
Then
a
there's
new
a
house would be,
problem.
so she
Yeah,
can-
so that's why I said if,
She has more liberty
I'm
with the
saying
best.
38, if
Yeah.
you guys voted on 37 or 36, I will be beating that. For sure.
We need the plot plan.
we can't.
Yeah, it's not something we should.
Instead of going
guess.
on conjecture, unfortunately, I mean,
Professional do the
Someone
measurements.
whose license is on the line if something's wrong versus a hand drawn on a napkin, well, this is what I want to do. Something happens and it's found out that the distances are wrong, this license is on the line.
Yeah, he would have to pay to move the foundation.
So, But everybody who comes to do these site plans they have that?
Full survey.
They do, the survey with the new on it.
Right.
And do we, are
Sometimes
we
it's
gonna require elevations on there?
I have elevations on the drafts, the draft plans. That's, you probably don't have that, because that would be,
That would be part of the house plan.
yeah, that's the whole house plans. Which would be,
But that would be part of your goal, sir.
Yeah.
It doesn't exceed 20.
yeah, because I've got the average grade and the roof peak, and then the 20-foot is what I
So
have.
either way, she's gonna have to have that certified plot
She's gonna have
plan.
to have it eventually.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you're better off to get it before we vote, so you know exactly.
Okay. Okay, so hopefully he's not so swamped that I can get him,
That's standard practice.
because I'm gonna be Otherwise, it's
Well,
gonna
we're
be
not,
another year.
we don't want to hold you up, but we don't want to do something that's not going to work out for you. I mean, if we vote on something, yeah, you really have to have the data. You can't just vote without the data. I don't think that's a good idea.
But I'm moving back, and
No,
that's
I know,
what
I
you
know,
want,
but
and
I
I'm
mean,
within
it's-
the 30% increase.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like at 22, really negative 39 for the 75 foot. So I'm moving everything back exactly what you wanted.
Right.
So like based on the ruling for that, I mean, for her, for the permit, yes, I need to get all that. But I'm wondering about you guys, if, you know, I'm within the 30%, and that's what the ruling's supposed to be on, right?
No, there's no 30% in the
No.
setbacks, it's 30% in the expansion.
Right.
Expansion of the house, the footprint of the house. You can go 30% within the 75 foot. But it has nothing to do with the measurements from the shoreline.
And it's not just our ordinance, it's the
That's a
DEP.
state.
It's the state ruling.
To
We
move
have to
back,
know,
which is-
right,
But like, what is the ruling? How much are you supposed to move back?
as far as
75
possible.
feet.
Well, it said, the
I mean, if it
rule, it
wasn't
actually
for-
says as far as practicable.
Right.
And so that's what the goal is.
That's the
Which is
gray
what I'm
area.
doing.
That gives some judgment. I mean, it's not an absolute number, you know? In other words, you could go back to 75 feet, but you have a pretty small house. I guess, wouldn't you?
No, if she got beyond 75 feet.
She can go whatever she wants.
she can
Well, I know, but I mean, she's got
Limited to
some
the
things
law.
in the way there, is what I'm
But
saying.
When the well prevents that.
Yeah.
Because I started looking at this and thought that could certainly be moved, and then I saw the well. and-
Yeah.
Okay, so
Cost is not.
I've got to work tomorrow, so I'd like to
Yeah, let's
wrap
wrap
this
this
up.
up.
I gotta get up at 3,
Yeah,
so.
but I don't think you can require her to ditch the well either.
No.
I don't think.
No, I don't think we should.
That would not be practical to me,
I don't think so.
unless you were gonna move it anyway, you know, unless
You
there was
don't know
something
what
wrong
the
I
with
think
it.
we need the plot plan.
You
Yes.
don't know what the state's gonna say.
Yeah, instead of
About moving the well.
Smart Cards
Guessing.
numbers from Mr.
Right, you need the
Lodge's
distance from
number.
the septic.
They asked them.
Right.
You don't know. Hopefully not.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we wait until we have the plot plan.
I'll second that.
Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I can send you.
Aye.
Aye. Whatever you need to show you.
Mhm.
And that. Then we'll-
Okay,
Sorry.
well, thank you. I'll see you hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Pray for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Okay.
Okay, the hidden spa.
Are you here?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Good.
Okay, good.
Is this the, medical spot? This is it here? Let's do this thing.
This is,
Old North Road.
with Rodney Hammond's land over on Old North Road. You're
Yep.
probably familiar
Yep.
with that. I tried to give you pictures and things so that you could, and there's 2 buildings on the lot.
Mhm.
They would like you, one of the buildings for, Rick, she's going to explain. Dawn, are you still there, Dawn?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I am.
Oh, okay, they hear you very well.
Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. It's been a long meeting.
I know, sorry.
But we're really happy. We just moved in to Lyman at the old Hammond Farm at 180 and 186 Old North Berwick Road. It's got a larger farmhouse, and then adjacent to that is a ranch. And what I would like to do is continue my business that I have currently up here in Fort Recount, which is the Hidden Spa, which would provide medical services to like Botox, derma fillers. I do laser therapy. I do microneedling, Kybella, sclerotherapy. I mean, I can go on and on. I am certified in every one of these procedures, and my medical director is located about 12 miles from where the proposed hidden spa would be.
Do you work on old guys too?
I do, I work on, I do it. Yep.
I could use a touch-up.
So the existing building itself, there's not a lot of renovation that needs to be done there. I will have a formal reception room, it will be able to hold 4 patients. However, the way that I schedule my patients, there's very rare any kind of overlap because I really am, my business is very private
And so I don't like to have clients booked where they would see the previous client or vice versa. So in terms of amount of cars in my driveway or how many people would be in my waiting room, 2 would be the absolute most, because I schedule very well in between, so that they're not seeing each other. The whole thing between the hidden spot is the fact that it's anonymous and to the public anyway. I try not to have them overlap.
I'm sorry, where,
I've been through feature before. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Where is your business located now?
Mine is located at 16 High Street in Fort Kent, Maine.
Okay.
Mhm. It's
And,
located in my home right now, and that's why this is the perfect scenario, that I could actually get it out of my home and place it in a place where it's completely separate from my living space.
and the location here in Lyman, you said is 12 miles away from your medical provider?
No, what it is under, see, I'm an RN, but I also
Right.
have a bachelor's in nursing, and I also have a master's in healthcare administration. So under this, doing medical spa, you need to have a medical director.
Right.
And so my medical director is Nicole DeRozier, and she's only 12 minutes or 12 miles from my home,
Okay, thank you.
which makes it perfect. So if there's any complications, which I've not had any since my opening about a year and a half ago, she is who I would consult, and she reviews my paperwork periodically, and we do have a collaboration agreement, and that's what the state of Maine requires.
Okay.
I know you might have some questions about needle disposal. I use a send back needle disposal, so I fill up the containers, I pack them up, and I send them back to a company to be disposed of properly. I also have extinguishers, will be in the room, because see behind me, I have some laser machines and microneedling machines. I've never had a problem with them, but we want to, keep things safe. I will have a carbon monoxide, and also, several smoke detector just because. And I will be putting up the correct signage, because when I'm using laser, clients that may be in a reception and want to come and interrupt into the treatment room, it needs to say, laser in use. So basically, I follow the rules to a T in terms of that. Parking, you can have 2 cars, and my husband is also going to make a turnaround or a half driveway to the side, so that when the vehicles are egressing, they can back up and actually leave the driveway in a forward position rather than backwards. Because I know that road is a little bit, it can be busy. It can be busy, but it's also narrow. So we're gonna make it so that they can come out safely.
I think we need to go over the checklist, because I don't think we have a complete application.
I didn't know what you needed because it's kind of a unique situation, and I was confining it like to the building as much as possible. I wasn't sure. We put NA where we didn't think so. I was going to ask you first, before you do that, they're in the general purpose district,
Correct.
and I think that's an allowed use with the site plan review, right?
It is.
Okay, perfect.
I think so.
I got a couple quick questions on the needle disposal. You're gonna have those boxes in every room, every patient room?
I'm gonna have 1 2-gallon box at a time. And I'm only using 1 treatment room at this time. We do have 2 additional treatment rooms that I am not completing at this, I'm not gonna be using, because I'm the only provider in the office at this point.
Okay, Kelly, let's not put the cart before the horse. Let's go through the application. Your number 1, a site plan drawn to scale not smaller than 1 inch equals 40 feet.
I thought that was not applicable because it was confined to the building. No, yes?
Okay, well,
We still need that.
it would be nice to have a plot plan with the building setbacks
Okay,
and all that on it.
It has to show parking area.
yep, okay, so you want the measurements of the parking area?
Well, I'd like to see how far the building is back from the road,
Okay,
and we need to see what they're gonna propose for a parking area.
okay,
And then I think we have rules about if the building's X amount of square footage, you have to have X amount of parking spaces.
okay, so that's that's not based on her clients. It would be based on
No, it's
her.
based on square footage.
Okay, we'll take a look at that. Dawn, I'll help you with these.
Okay.
Okay, we got the name and address of the applicant. Okay, number 3, total floor area, ground coverage, location of each proposed building, structure, or addition. There's only one building on the lot.
There's two.
There's 2.
They're residents.
All right, I know where they are, they're side by side,
Right,
the buildings.
right. They're quite a ways apart, actually.
They are.
There's no additions being done to.
So-
it.
We would like,
It's,
when you draw the map with the building on it, we'd like the square footage of it,
Of the one they're proposing.
of the one they're proposing to use. And I don't believe we really need to see the other building on it. or-
If we need
no,
to
it's
see
not
the-
connected. I am LLC.
you don't-
Okay, 4, perimeter survey parcel made by certified registered land surveyor licensed in Maine relating to reference points. We don't have a survey. I don't know how the board feels about that. It is a
We
39
just
acre lot.
bought the property and we do have a survey.
You do have a survey. Okay, then I think you should put it with your plan. Okay, and number 5 is, we've already talked about that, all existing proposed setback dimensions, setback of your house, from the road. And again, we'd like to see the
Would that not
parking.
have been met for residential or no? Because that's
Well, it
been
would
there
have
since
been met, but it's part of this site plan checklist, and we need to see it.
No, I understand. I've been working with Brenda and I'm sorry, there's some of these things that I'm not, that Brenda was helping, so.
That house has been there for
we
quite
worked
some
together,
time.
close together.
And I know it's set back far enough, but where the house has been there so long, it's possible it's not, but I can see it is because I drive by it every day. But we need to have that
On paper.
on paper. Okay, 6, the size, location, direction, intensity of illumination of all major outdoor lighting apparatus and signs. Are you putting any outside lights up other than what you have now?
We will have some signs on the current porch that's located where the reception area is. I will have signage at the road, similar to what, like a mailbox, a taller, maybe 7, 8 foot pole with my business name and contact information. And I also have a larger sign that's gonna be going near the door.
Okay, because we
There's
do
not
have,
Any huge signage anywhere.
we do have a
Other
size limitation on signs, and we would like to see where the signs are gonna go. If you just kind of put them on your plot plan.
Okay.
Okay, number 7,
What about lighting? What are your hours of operation?
Kelly,
He's going down the list here.
we're going through the list.
Well, we've size, location, direction, intensity, and signs.
Yeah.
So in the wintertime, if she's open and it gets dark at 4:30 and
I just asked her about lights.
That'll be on the
We will
plan.
probably have a light that will illuminate that kind of mailbox sign that I'll have, and that will be located down at the lower end of the driveway where closest to the road. That is where we would propose it unless you decide that you need to have it somewhere else. We will have adequate lighting in the front. And so we have 2 entrances to the building, one in the front and one by where, if you're looking at the building, the right-hand side has a little porch and a small addition that they had put on there. We'll have that lit up,
Okay, make sure you put that on your plan.
okay?
7, the type, size, and location of all incineration devices. You're not gonna have an incinerator there?
No.
Okay. 8, the type, size, and location of all machinery likely generate appreciable noise at lot lines. No machinery?
My machinery?
No. Are you gonna have an
We have a
outside?
personal residence next door. My husband has a backhoe, but
But I'm not talking about that. We're talking about what you wanna do. Are you gonna have a generator out there?
no,
We're trying to find out if you're gonna have a generator or something else running outside.
no.
Okay, so that's NA. 9, the location, type, and size of all existing and proposed catch spaces, storm drainage facilities, wetland streams, and water courses, as well as all utilities, both above and below ground.
Not changing anything that's not existing.
Okay.
We're upgrading the wiring and plumbing inside.
Yep.
And placing an ADA bathroom, but other than that, there's nothing outside exteriorly that we're doing anything major.
Okay. 10, all existing contours and proposed finished grade elevations of the portions of the site which will be altered. Now, the only thing you're doing is making parking spaces and altering your driveway, right?
Yeah, I'm just cutting out the lawn so they can have a turnaround and maybe a little landscaping in front of the house to make it nice looking. That's about it.
So we feel they need to have the contours. It's pretty flat over there
No, I don't
anyway.
think so.
Okay. 11, location, type, size of all curbs, sidewalks, driveway, fences, retaining walls, parking space, area, et cetera, and layout thereof. So you're gonna have to put your driveway and your parking spaces on your plot plan.
Okay.
And the sizes of the
Yeah, the
parking
size of the
spaces.
Yep, sizes.
Right.
And again, that's all figured on square footage of the building, so.
It tells you how many parking spaces are required based on the square footage.
We'll look at that.
Yeah, I can fit 4 in there and I know I'm only gonna be using 2 at one time. I'm not bringing a vehicle over since I live next door. So to see that it would be at capacity, I don't see it happening. Like I said, it's probably gonna be 1 to 2 cars only.
If it's based on floor area, just the floor, I mean, is that a single floor building? I don't remember.
I think it's a 2-story building, I'm not
So
sure.
do you want all the area or just the area she's using?
I believe it's the area she's gonna be using.
That's right.
And that's gonna only be the first floor.
Yep.
Mhm.
12, all proposed landscaped areas, size and type of plant material upon the premises, that's NA. 13, all existence or proposed right-of-ways, easements, and other legal restrictions may affect the premises in question. Again, I think that was not applicable because you're just changing your driveway and parking. 14, the property lines of all properties abutting the proposed development, including properties across the street or across a water body, together with tax map and lot numbers and property owners' names and mailing addresses on file at the town office within 10 days of the filing of the application.
We'll get that.
Yeah, all our neighbors are the 2 Hanneman brothers.
Yeah. Okay, 15, are appropriate box in each page of the plans for the signatures of the planning board. But this will probably just be a notice of decision, so that's not applicable. 16, documentation of right, title, or interest on a proposed site, and I don't see a deed
We have
in
a
here.
copy of it.
You do have a copy of the deed?
Yes.
17, an on-site soils investigation report by a Maine State licensed site evaluator. And you're not putting a new septic system in, you're gonna use the existing.
Correct.
So I think that's not applicable here. Okay, 18, the type of any raw, finished, or waste materials to be stored inside or outside of roof buildings, including the physical and chemical properties. So you're not storing any needles or any drugs or
No.
anything outside, it's all inside. Okay,
Yeah, no, they're all under lock and key. That's another one thing that I have to do. I've got
Yep.
a refrigerator that has a lock on it for my Botox. Any needles are locked into a locked unit, so nobody can get access to that except for me. And I'm not holding any, I send in the needle boxes immediately. So there's no biohazard that
Yeah.
you're gonna be finding. There's no excessive blood here, so it's not anything that needs to be red bagged. So basically, it's not that difficult to do. It's just a matter of sending by mail the needles back.
okay. And number 19, traffic data. The old North Berwick Road's a highly traveled road.
Yeah.
And nobody does a speed limit on it, but that's beyond us. I mean, I don't feel we need traffic data for this.
I don't think her business is gonna be.
I don't know what
generating
anybody else
that
thinks.
much it'll have any
No, she's only got one or two. One
Can you,
patient at a time.
in your application, are you going to state, like maximum number of patients at one time? Or,
There's only one patient at a time. I'm the only provider, so I can only do one at a time. That's why I schedule them so that they don't overlap.
So we probably could use a daily, like an estimate of how many per day
yeah,
and what
You
days
could
of the
put it-
week.
It'll probably be up to 8 per day.
we'll put that in the application then.
Yeah, and how many days a week you're going to operate?
I'm gonna work 5 days a week, 8 to 5
Yeah, we
are
need
my
that.
current hours, but if
Right.
I have to make an exception here and there, I may have to
That's
do
fine.
that to accommodate people's time.
Well,
Is
then,
that part of her narrative?
Yeah, it's in the back on the thing she
Okay.
wrote up.
yeah, just
So
ask
it's
for what
saying
you're gonna need.
Number 19 is not applicable.
Yeah.
And
Right.
20, any other information or data the planning board determines is necessary to demonstrate compliance and to know anything we want.
I just had one question. What are you calling this facility?
Medical care facility?
Is it a
It's a
medical?
medical spot.
Well, I was looking,
Wouldn't say that.
medical care facility isn't allowed in general purpose,
That's exactly why I'm asking the question.
but a health institution is that what you're saying?
I
Well-
don't think so.
Yeah, I think
Or
unfortunately,
personal service?
unfortunately, there's some differences between the land use table and then when you read the narrative later.
I think I was looking for the personal service business too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know that this is a medical care facility.
It's not a medical care facility, it's a medical spa, which means not any person can just come in and do these services. You have to be certified and you have to be a nurse.
I'm looking,
Or a nurse practitioner or a medical doctor.
I'm
So
looking for something
that's
that
because
is,
medical spa comes in.
okay, what I'm looking for is something that is allowed under the ordinance, because if it was a medical care facility, it wouldn't be allowed in, general.
No, it's not medical care
All
facility,
right,
no.
medical spa.
But there's no medical spa listed.
Right,
Personal
but
services.
So what do you want to call it? Is it a home occupation?
Would
No,
be sort of like a chiropractic.
I think it's at
Right.
personal services Z,
Personal services?
yeah,
Oh, personal services building?
don't you think?
I'd agree with that. I mean,
You know, you can't get much more personal than this.
so
No, I'm sorry. That just came out.
Yeah, no, it's all right.
I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry, but
Personal service.
anyway, okay, all right. I think, yeah, that's legitimate then. If it's personal services or professional office, one of those two would be okay, I would think. I mean,
Our definition of professional service, a business that offers a professional service, licensed, regulated, such as but not limited to barbers, hairdressers, beauticians, masseuses, tanning salons.
that's pretty close,
Yep, licensed and
Yeah.
registered.
pretty
I
close.
think that fits pretty well.
Okay, good. That's what I was interested in.
okay, so we'll need the existing proposed setback dimensions, your signs and your lights on it.
Do you need that prior to scheduling your?
No, I think we can schedule a sidewalk.
I'd like to see, because they were hoping to open like in June and July.
Yep.
So I thought if we could get this site visit out of the way, get your public hearing done really quickly, that she could, do that. Did that make sense, Dawn?
Yeah, I'm hoping to open up in July. Like I said, I'm still up here in Fort Kent. I gotta wait till my daughter graduates before I can vacate this home, so, if we could get it done before July, I'd be very appreciative of that.
So Dawn, they usually do their, site visits on Saturdays usually, right? Is that gonna work with you?
Yeah, Tim has actually moved down there, so he's going to be available Saturday mornings, because he just signed a contract where he has to work starting at noon time. So if we could set something up in the morning, that would be best.
Pick a Saturday.
Well, we got a site walk scheduled for 8 o'clock on June 10th, but that's after the next meeting. And if you want to try to do it before the next meeting, I guess maybe, what the heck day is tonight? you want to try June 3rd?
Yep, I'm good with that.
Gives
Sure,
enough time to,
get you all that information.
I won't be there.
No,
I'll be away.
so we'd have to post that then. That's going to be for, what do we, this is for the happy, what is this, the Happy Spa? No,
Hidden Spa.
the Hidden Spa.
All kind of
Very
business.
much were you in?
The result is happy.
Sorry, just slipped out.
What time we gonna?
Okay,
do
so
the
that 8 o'clock on Saturday, the 3rd of June at the Hidden Spa. So if we
Hidden
can,
Spa.
if we can find it, we'll go for the sidewalk.
That'll be fine for us.
It's time to end the meeting.
I think Doug's getting tired.
I'm getting
Yeah.
tired. I'm over the hill here. I've been over the hill for a long time, but it's getting obvious. Anyway, sounds like an interesting project.
Right.
Okay, so we're gonna have to.
So we're good? All right.
Dawn,
Awesome.
you can call me in
Yeah.
the next couple of days and we'll work on this list that they'll be needing, like to get that to them sooner than later.
Okay. It's not a problem. It doesn't seem like a very long list, so I think we're good.
We can do it.
Yep. Well, thank you for your time.
Well, you have a
Thank you.
great night.
Yep,
Good
good
night.
luck on this.
Thank you.
Should I turn this off? Push the
I
button,
don't know how to run it.
push this button here.
I think she's.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have minutes.
It's red. It's red, it's gone. This one's dead then.
We have minutes from May 5th, 2023.
Move accepting the minutes as amended.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I know. Anything else? Can I mention one other thing? While you're signing?
Yep,
Just,
as long as it's not controversial.
it's not controversial. There's a couple of people who are coming up for reappointment. I think I've got, it's in the town report here. If you're silly enough to want to continue on the planning board, I'm just mentioning it because your term would expire June 30th, I guess. I think there's two guys. What the heck is it? It's in a new town.
Kelly and I.
Oh, yeah, you guys.
Kelly and I.
Yes.
Also mentioned.
Oh, you too. We're the same. Three of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you and I came in the same
We came out the same year, yeah.
The reason why it's you and I is because we had switched,
Oh, that's right.
so it changed.
Oh,
Can we just quickly thank Julie for setting up that Zoom meeting? I think. that-
Yes, that is-
Julie did a great job.
Mhm.
I'm sorry I missed it on that.
Oh, Lindsay set it up for me. All I say is, Lindsay, can you do this for me? And she got everything set up. So
Sure.
thank Lindsay for that.
Right.
It's okay. You're
All
an
I did was
expert
click
now.
buttons. It helps a lot.
Yeah, they
That
can
was
do,
good.
Okay. So for our next meeting, we'll put Broadview Estates on first, and then we'll see if we can go with Dawn Brown with the medical spa. I almost said Happy Spa, Dawn.
You're gonna be dreaming about that.
You're getting me, yeah. You're killing me.
Oh, you're not gonna live that one down.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
And then we have our site walks.
yeah.
Next Wednesday, we've got the.
Yep, next Wednesday, we have the
Workshop.
LD 2003.
And I can zoom in on that.
Yes,
Okay.
I'll have Lindsay set us up.
All right, thanks.
We're gonna record it, just that
3
way.
o'clock, so we'll
That's
put
great,
it in.
yes.
It's
Just in case.
available. That way, if we want to refer back to anything, there's a few members of the ordinance review committee coming.
Okay.
And I think that Lindsay said a couple of members of the select board were interested, but I didn't get specifics.
Does the ordinance review committee meet tomorrow?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, they know, but I mentioned it to them. So I don't know how many are coming.
I know too.
Mike is on vacation, Mike is in Arizona, so he won't come.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
think
that's
you
right.
mentioned that it's gonna be on Zoom.
Oh, I will. I'll try to remember. Zoom.
And just a real quick update on the bills related to LD 2003. Three of them were voted ought not to pass, so they're pretty much a dead letter. The one that did pass has a divided report. There are three amended versions. I haven't gotten those yet. Contacted the state and also one of the members of the committee to see if I can get copies of those. I'll get them out to everyone as soon as I see them, so I don't know exactly how it has been amended or when it will be before the House and the Senate chambers. Don't know that yet. So, yeah, that's 1706.
Wow. Too much stuff.
Yes. I was
Oh, you
hoping
gonna-
put
do we have
some
to-
of Mine in your pile.
Yeah, don't do that. I know.
Oh,
God.
yes, you need all more paperwork.
Jesus, we got
No,
other
no,
crap we gotta
paperwork.
Do we need to vote to adjourn?
Well, I'll make a motion that we close the meeting.
Let's close this meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Ah,
aye. No, I still gotta get up early. Dang it.
$7 tonight.
Yeah, this is getting
What are you gonna do with all of
Stuff
that?
Are we still on?
Going home,
George,
shower and bed,
please.
but I won't get up till 5. By 5, I will be.
Subdivision rules. Good night.
Night.
My third cup of
Good
tea before you go
night.
back on.